that we can't say on the mic.
I can pretty much leave now, can't I?
Yeah, we did an episode just for our heads.
Yeah. We just had about an hour conversation catching up.
Man, it is so good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
I am here with one of my oldest friends, really, and it's after a work shift. He's flying out to Nashville tomorrow.
Yes, I am.
We just crammed this in. We were like, all right, we got to make this happen. We've been talking. We got to make this crossover happen. I'm here with Luke Lacricchio.
Hello.
Some of you may know him as Luke Holden.
Mm-hmm.
Performing name. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How are you, man?
I'm great, man. It's
Excellent.
good to be here. I like this ambiance.
Thank you.
I'm excited for anybody who doesn't know my legal name to hear my legal name, you know. And then furthermore, my legal first name, which is not Luke either.
It's Jeremy.
It is Jeremy, yeah. We'll leave that one a mystery. But no, it's great. I'm here in Michigan for the week. I came up for the holiday, and lo and behold, on the last night I'm here, it decides to shit snow all over the place. So I almost got in like 5 accidents on
Thanks
the way
for
up
that.
here. No, it was totally worth
appreciate
it, man. It was great. I don't get this down south. So
Yeah.
we got cats crawling all around.
Yeah, that little pop right there was Fred Hampton.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a voodoo mortuary. Yeah.
You kind of are. There's Nag Champa burning. There's cats everywhere. We've got astrology books and a copy of Dracula around.
Yeah, you have come a long way, my friend. I dig this.
Thank you. Nietzsche's still on the shelves.
Yeah. That was what started the conversation that almost ended the night, actually.
God, what were we saying? So in high school, we met in high school. Before we get into any of the professional stuff, we met in high school, and we were both little edgelords, making our way, trying to find our identity, reading Nietzsche.
Yes.
Which we just agreed after looking at it on the bookshelf that it was way beyond. It still probably is way beyond me.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what the fuck I was saying.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was reading.
It was ridiculous. And I mean, you say edgelords, dude. There were some dull edges there. Didn't want to admit it at the time.
Yeah. Nobody does. It's high school.
Those are some dull edges. I think back and I'm like, what would you tell yourself if you could go back and like look at yourself and. I'm going to ask you that first, actually.
Yeah, see, this is great because for those of you that don't know, Luke has his own podcast.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got to break out of the questionnaire.
No, don't do that because that's cool. I'm so used to questions. So to answer your question, God, maybe don't flex the tie-dye Converses. I don't know. I like those, though. I don't know. I want to say, like, don't eat psychedelics at 14.
No, it's something useful.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, but no,
something that will help you.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
Don't
okay,
stop that little man from enjoying himself.
How about like invest in crypto?
Oh, Jesus Christ Almighty! If I had the foresight,
right?
My God,
I had a buddy back then, maybe a senior in high school, and he was using the Silk Road online. Older guy. His name's Jonathan, and actually his wife just passed away last week. Rest in peace to Hollis.
Yes.
Beautiful family, beautiful life. Jonathan, we're going to get together soon. But he had told me, yo, invest in crypto. Like, he was like, he was using Bitcoin, right? Because he was an editor for major movies like Spy Kids and shit.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like, he is a hallucinogenic guy, like a Grateful Dead type character. So he would use the dark web not for, evil purposes, so to speak. He would just buy, his psychedelics there, but he was using Bitcoin, and he was telling me about it. And, you hear the stories of just like people buying a fucking pizza with Bitcoin in 2011, and it's like a $2 million fucking pizza.
Yeah.
So I maybe that, but that, that's kind of like an obvious, current event one where I think a lot of people wish that they would have hopped on that.
I would too, because it would have made it so much easier to get drugs. And when I was full time, and my friend used to I just had some speed delivered from Canada. I'm like, wait, what? You call your Canadian speed guys? No, I got on the dark web, you fucking idiot.
That's what I'm saying. Like he would just get like dimethyltryptamine. DMT mailed to his house, and I'm like, how? And he's like, "You want to smoke?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't want to meet the space elves today. I'm gonna read the Terrence McKenna book, but I'm not gonna meet the space elves today."
I never actually met the space elves. I never got to.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest.
Stuff.
I never smoked DMT.
Really?
No, I've been offered it thrice. Great.
3 strikes and you're out.
3 strikes, and you know what? I'll probably never do it at this point. Did I read DMT, The Spirit Molecule? Yes, I did. Did all of those experiences make me want to do it? I don't know. Half the people went to heaven. Half the people got fucked in the ass by reptiles. I don't know.
Which is heaven for some people, actually. It actually is.
There's the newest A24 film for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there. With that being said, okay, so Jonathan was one of the first people that offered it to me. That was probably my cleanest and most pure option to do it, and I didn't. We ended up eating some Peruvian mushrooms instead, and I had eaten a bunch of Indian sweets beforehand and got totally sick to Ravi Shankar in his meditation room and was throwing up in his bath. It was terrible. It was easily the worst mushroom trip I've ever had. So yeah, I opted out of the DMT and ate mushrooms and got sick anyway, but
you still had your fun.
I had my lesson. You know, it was one of those like rock back and forth and say I'm sorry to myself for eating mushrooms on a whim.
Yeah.
After eating a bunch of sweets and have, you know, because there's such a stomach turner, like that kind of thing. You need the preparation and all that shit. DMT, I'm not really looking to break through. Like mushrooms and acid they were enough for me.
Yeah.
And I haven't touched the shit in years. Like I've said this before, I probably will never trip again. And I respect the people that are like, yo, I do it to hit the reset button, you know, like, or I do it on the equinox. Cool, dude. The other time I was offered DMT, Rothberry.
I saw the poster in the bathroom, actually.
Yes, that was 2009. You were there, right?
I was.
My man.
And I wasn't even into the extracurriculars. I remember I brought like 230 racks of beer, and all my friends around me are taking mushrooms and smoking weed, and I'm just like, oh, I'm, you know, just a little virgin who reads Nietzsche and like likes to drink beer and dance around to flogging Molly, and you know, I got to do those things.
Bro,
but
you are so funny.
Oh my God. No, I'm just miserable. That's all.
Yes.
You know, it's funny you say that about like, you know, all the things. The first thing you said was, I would tell myself to go easy on the tie-dye.
Yeah.
You know, like in my first inkling, when I think back to myself, it's not like, oh, you know, open your mind up, have new experience. It's like, no, I want to make fun of that little shit. You know, I want to make fun of me. I was such a little prick, you know.
Like that. Yeah.
I'm like, throw your fucking wallet chain. Like, stop wearing a pea coat with a baseball cap. The Boondock Saints is not that good of a movie. Burn your fucking Che Guevara shirt. Like, just, I would go back and I would just absolutely shit talk myself if I could go back.
You had the Misfit shirt too, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
No,
I didn't get a Misfit shirt until like 2 years ago.
Man. Maybe it was Jack Waddell.
If I was wearing a Misfit shirt, I didn't have the right to. Jack
he
probably
wore the
did.
fuck out of that shit.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he and I, we kind of had our, I can't say Axis powers, one because it's politically incorrect, and two because there are only two of us. But yeah, we had like
we got Italy and Germany.
Yeah, exactly. Japan is jury's still out.
Yes.
we still need you. But no, we were obviously very oriented in the hardcore, you know, in the metal and the punk and all that. So.
That shit fucked though. That was awesome.
Oh, I loved it, man.
It was, you know, you say like, yeah, you'd like to laugh, and we can now, but like you had to be into it for it to be real. Like you guys rocked Battle of the Bands.
We loved it.
You fucking killed it.
We had, I mean, you know, we had.
You killed it. I was there.
We had years, and we had not good years. You know what I mean? But I will say this is, I think a lot about, you know, those formative years, especially this. I just fucking turned 30.
So did I. Rest in peace.
Exactly. I felt dead long before this moment, but now I'm like really fucking dead.
This whole I'm going to title this Nietzsche. Some kind of Nietzsche pun.
Well, there's Germany again.
Yes. So, but you just turned 30.
Well, I turned and yeah, you think about those formative years, and it's like playing music, and you know, I didn't do a lot of sports. I mean, I would say because like, oh, I wasn't that into it. I wasn't, but also I'm just not that athletic. Never really have been. But I think about like building oneself and doing it in a community with a group of kids who it's like you get together after school and we are going to practice on our own time and on our own terms, and like to set that up autonomously. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Outside of any sort of like oversight saying, you know, like a coach saying you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. Like it was really fucking cool. Yeah. Actually.
I dig that.
Yeah. We kind of, you know, we really cut our teeth in an interesting way. Yeah. You know,
I really like what you said though about not having like an authority figure kind of overseeing your extracurricular activities, because we ran in like different groups, I would say, but sort of parallel groups, because I spent the majority of my days after school going to like Adam Bolton's house or
I remember
Cook's.
Adam.
Yeah, and we would just be like, there'd be anywhere from 4 to 12 people on his back porch just getting high, smoking, and jamming, you know, doing music or fucking around and playing video, etc. Like, I was not a sports kid either, but I was reading, I was writing. Yeah. I was also in a band that was, you know, a little more loose, you know, coming and going member, Tony Ross, Jordan Beto. Yeah. You know, we were messing around with
Jordan Beto.
Yeah. Dude, he's doing great, by the way.
Yeah. I love it. This interview is going to be so esoteric and like down home, quite literally, because we are home. Yes. You know, but inevitably we're going to get into some big topics too, which is cool. But to like shoot the shit about where we were from and like the familiarity and everything, because, you know, we ran in, you know, maybe I'm overpowering your point, I don't mean to, but we ran in different groups to a degree. But at the same time, you know, this is not an experience that a lot of people get when it comes to adolescence and teenage years and high school and what have you. And I always tell my friends here, or I mean, in Nashville or anybody that I've met, where I'm like, dude, you know, we talk about things and like, I fucking hated high school. It was terrible. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, I didn't really have that experience. I got really lucky, you know. It's like the groups, whereas they may have been different, like there was a concurrence to it all, where everybody was just like, there was a harmony. Like it was not very catty. You know, you had different groups of people who were all hanging out together at the parties on the weekends.
Totally. And my gosh, yeah.
It was so true.
With the kids like a year above us.
Yes.
I mean, all kinds of different walks of life.
Yeah.
You know? And you're right. It wasn't like that stereotypical, like the jocks hang out with the jocks and the, you know, the punks and the geek. It was very fluid. Yeah. And maybe we were lucky, or maybe we were on like the turning of the tide as far as that goes. You know, like I even like to think about movies and comedies, like that bully archetype of like, you know, kids getting shoved in lockers and shit. Yeah. You just don't see that anymore. Really. No. Like it wasn't like. And also being the
it's because they lock them in the lockers now, so you can't, you know, and they never fucking get out.
There they remain.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. No, you're so right though. I don't like loathe my high school experience, and it's and I have to say it's not because like it's one of those comedic skits of like that guy who's still in his hometown that's like, yo, you remember that fucking. Oh, dude, I threw the football 30 yards, like, you know, like who can't get out of their high school glory days. It's not that. It's just like I had a lot of like time and artistic freedom, and we had really good people around us.
We had great people, dude. We had great people. Still do. Like, I mean, how many of these people? I mean, I was with, again, esoteric here, but Brandon Stone, you know, who's one of my best friends of this day.
Coming to mind while we were discussing, like, when I mentioned the kids above us.
Yep. He came out with us last night. We were down in Detroit and everything, and it's like these are people who we love and cherish. We did back then, and then they've turned into adult friends.
Exactly.
Who you love and trust.
Yeah.
And that's invaluable.
Totally.
You don't really pick that out of the high school tree.
No, a lot of people, whether they know it or not, depending on where they're at, you know, you leave that behind.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people go their separate ways. You might catch them at a reunion or whatever. You might keep 1 to 2 friends, but I think we were lucky enough. Like, for instance, I brought up Jordan Beto. Mm-hmm. He's one of my nearest and dearest friends. Like,
how's he doing?
He is, dude. Oh my god. I actually need to call him because we go in and out of just like, you know those people where you don't talk for a minute and then you call and you pick right back up.
Yep.
I may or may not keep this in. Shout out Jordan Beto. But he's in Ortonville. He had a wheat. I think he still has a wheatgrass company.
Okay.
He grows sprouts and wheatgrass for like cancer patients.
No shit.
And it's like highly nutritional. I mean, the shit tastes like shit. I used to juice it, you know.
That's
like,
how you know it's good for you.
It's grass, exactly. Yeah, it's grass. But he had a huge like grow op in his basement, and it wasn't weed. It was like sprouts. He's a masseuse, so
Has he still got that beautiful head of hair?
Dude, I think he cut it.
Oh, son of a bitch!
I know.
I don't care what he's achieved.
Man,
it's all
he
null.
had the greatest hair, bro.
Yeah.
But he's a fantastic individual. I would love to get him on here, but he's such an introvert. It might just be me saying shit to make him laugh, because
that's a challenge. Then
it is. Yeah. That was one of like the key parts of our relationship. I remember even in high school, but having such a deep connection with somebody, like I knew like with him, for instance, like you're gonna be my friend forever.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, oh, we're best, we're good friends. Mm-hmm. It's like there was, dude, I took acid with you, and like we have And that's not the one key thing. Like, oh, I took drugs with you. Like, we're friends. Like, you see somebody's intrinsic nature, you know, and like that, he is one of the most intelligent and compassionate human beings I've ever met.
Yeah.
And he's got a wicked sense of humor. And I remember one of my tasks being just like, how can I make Jordan laugh or like come out of his shell, you know, or like get a reaction out of him, because he was so stoic in the sense of like, he was fine with silence.
Yeah. He always had, he had a demeanor about him that was very tranquil.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And alternatively, Brandon Stone could turn up.
Oh, dude. That fucking kid, man.
Dude.
And I still call him kid. You know, I still call all my friends kid. You know what I mean? These are people, you know, if you have no idea who the fuck we're talking about, these are people worth knowing.
Yeah.
You know, there's more or less the people, you know, that have, you know, given us a reason to be here today, you know, and keep coming back to the same town and keeping in touch with everyone. So
we were kind of talking about this earlier too, about the hometown archetype, and ours in particular, that like there's something, you know, like Schitt's Creek-y about it, you know, like where every kind of like shithole has a story or a claim to fame, so to speak. But Clarkston in particular, like, it's on some kind of like Masonic ley line.
Yeah.
Like from Henry Ford to DTE Pine Knob being there, like we have major acts coming through, to the wonderful Union Joints that host a variety of big names and amazing people.
Yep.
I don't know. It just feels like a really special place that, you know, a ton of major names have put people have put their stamp on.
They just stumble upon it.
Yeah.
And you know, you think about it, like all of these guys who were around in, you know, the turn of the century, you know, into the 20th century. I mean, you had Henry Ford, you had Thomas Edison, you know, these guys, and I mean, they're Detroit based, but all of them were living in these underlying areas.
Yeah, his house is right up the road. Like his summer home is right up the road.
Exactly. You know, so I mean, hardly knowing it, we grew up in this you know, this mecca of
I was just going to say mecca, man.
It was a mecca. Yes. That's what it is. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know any Muslims who live here, so maybe we don't. They shoved them all in the lockers. I'm sorry. That you should probably edit out.
Yeah, well, okay, so one of my regulars, one of the top dogs, he came in the night after Thanksgiving, and he's a white guy, but he kind of could pass as Middle Eastern. And all the doctors love him, right? That's what he was saying. So they went to Morton's, and I might edit this out too. I don't know. This is just such, like you said, it's going to be an esoteric, in and out, big topic, little topic, small town, big time barbecue type shit.
Please bring it on.
Right? So he's sitting at my bar, and shout out to him, dude. His family's fantastic. He's an amazing human being. But they went to Morton's for Thanksgiving, right? They ran out of fucking turkey. They get home, they're hungry, and there's a big tray of food on their porch. And they're like, oh, yeah, great. And it's from one of his Muslim doctor friends. And it is a full fucking lamb.
All right.
Like, yeah, which you would be like, yeah, great. Like,
now we're talking.
But I'm talking ribs and spinal cord included.
Okay.
And
yeah. No, I just like the idea of redefining Thanksgiving this way. That's great.
I just love the okay after that.
I mean, it's those parts of the animal that, I don't know, maybe I'm weird that way, where it's like, absolutely, I would totally eat the stomach lining. Like, you know, if somebody said it was okay. I've always, here's a really fucked up thing, and I oh God.
Let's hear it.
I mean it, though, when I say it, like, and I've heard other people, like, when I say it and no one's listening, like, yeah, I would too, dude. You know what I mean? But it's like, if I were sort of, if it were a thing, and I'm sure it is somewhere, but it's very, very, well, I don't know. It's speculate a lot. My brain wanders. But, like, I always said, like, if there was, like, a little chef village place, you know, up in the mountains somewhere.
Sure.
And in some, you know,
remote
part of the world, you know, like in the Himalayas or something like that. I don't even know if you can fucking live in the Himalayas.
I think you can.
I mean,
there's some Tibetans out there, right?
Maybe so. I just, I don't know. Maybe they'll help me out with this. But if they were like, we're serving human meat, I do it once.
Oh,
I try it once.
My God.
I try it one time.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a cannibal on the show.
Yeah.
We have a cannibal.
We have rights too.
Oh my God. So we've got a beer on draft called Prevenge. Like revenge, but it's so it's premeditated. You're you're that, but a cannibal.
Aw.
You're gonna be a cannibal one day, right?
Dreams do come true.
Like when the new Omnicovid strikes, and we start eating each other. Luke's gonna be like, all right,
it's gonna be me, and I'm gonna be riding a giant cockroach.
Time. I watched a documentary in college, actually, Japanese class, Japanese cinema.
Okay,
and it was about let's see, I wish I remember the name. it was about this dude. He was a war veteran from World War II, and he went around and would like guerrilla. What do you call it? Where you like some Alex Jones shit, where he goes on the street and like it's guerrilla,
of course,
guerrilla reporting, like where you kind of like you attack them and you don't know that. He would do that in Japan and go up to like officials, but he was essentially trying to get them to admit that these stranded bands of soldiers had eaten each other. That there was cannibalization that took place during the wars in the Pacific with the United States, and he was part of one of those bands, and he'd been locked up like dozens of times. Right. Yeah. I will link it. I will edit it and link this because it's a fascinating documentary, and it's terrible and sad at the same time. But there was a social hierarchy to it where the lieutenants would obviously make the underlings play games or basically sticks to see who they were going to eat.
Aww.
And
they had fun while they were at it.
To maybe add to your curiosity and fantasy, the guy, he finds somebody who's willing to admit it on camera, and the guy's like, it tasted like pork. Like human just tasted like pork.
I can confirm that.
So this is getting super fucking weird, and I love it. I think it's a great segue into the movie Lamb.
Oh, yeah.
And some of your work, so we can get a little on topic and maybe bring some of our strange fantasies into the actual like world of film.
Oh, God willing.
Lamb.
Yes.
We're going to go into full spoilers, so if you haven't seen this movie and you want to, like skip ahead 5, 10, an hour. I don't know. But I will say this: it's the latest from A24.
Worst case scenario, you could always chop the spoilers. Chop the lamb spoilers.
Now I'm realizing, like, okay, this is like we were talking about a spinal cord with a lamb that was delivered from one of my regular. Like this. Okay, this is good. There's some rhythm here and some cadence and some flow.
Yes.
This movie is something. I went in. I don't know if it's still in theaters. But just
you can stream it now. I know that
you can stream it.
You can
okay,
stream it, yes.
And this is the biggest fanboy of the movie, Mr. Lucrezio.
That's me.
I went in expecting something. And if you're familiar with A24, fucking awesome. If you're not, super great production company putting out the villain to the Marvel universe in film.
Finally,
the Thanos to that.
Yes.
Team Martin Scorsese.
Mm-hmm. He just turned, I think it was 89 the other day.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
And he's got a new movie out, too, about, like, card counting.
Does he really?
That I haven't, yeah.
No shit.
Maybe he was just a producer, executive producer, but
I don't know. This is
I'll link that up. Let's stay on Lamb, because we can just go anywhere.
I know. I love it, though.
I didn't like the movie. And that,
which is not an unpopular opinion at all.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm in a bunch of, from Reddit to, like, A24 Facebook groups, people didn't, like, I'd say it's like 70-30.
Yeah.
Didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It got good reviews from critics. It was advertised as like a new brand of horror.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember calling you, or you called me, because we had, we stay in contact through Instagram one way or another, and we were both very hype about this movie. Mm-hmm. And I haven't been able to talk about, like, I started to in another episode with one of the dudes that I went and saw it with, but nobody else had really seen it, and it was like a hip-hop podcast.
Yeah,
it wasn't,
totally.
It just wasn't going to go there. Mm-hmm. Like, we weren't going to get into cannibalism and whatever we're about to talk about.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
Okay, so anyway, now I'm a little bit rambly, but I didn't like the movie. And Luke was like, "Can I call you?" I said, "Yes, absolutely." And we ended up talking, and he convinced me otherwise. Like, I was really disappointed leaving the movie theater, and you wrote an article, Mundane
Magazine, which is a company or a magazine and really a fashion line that my friend Luca DeFabio owns down in. He's from Italy, so
shout out Luca DeFabio.
Yeah, dude, I'm not kidding when I say this, and anybody who's ever heard him is in the major consensus about it. He has, because he's multi-talented. He has this magazine. He makes fashion, and he has this. It's all lifestyle and what have you. And for him, I've always interviewed musicians, and what the Lamb venture was different. I said, "Hey, I watched this movie.
Yeah,
I would love to review it. Can I do it?" And he said, "Oh yeah, man, that's fine." He has an interesting accent, but to the point of audibility, he has hands down the best voice in Nashville. Hands down the best fucking voice in Nashville, Tennessee. Without it, I'm not kidding when I say this. It's like a hybrid between Freddie Mercury and Jeff Beck.
Damn.
No, not Jeff Beck. I'm sorry. Jeff Buckley. Jeff
Buckley. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Little
Yeah.
hallelujah.
Yes. Dude, it's mesmerizing. He will stop a fucking, just stop a room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Luca DeFabio.
Yes.
And Mundane Magazine for
And
everybody.
Mundane Magazine.
I'll also leave that. I'm going to do a list of links.
Yes.
But Luke, you write for him.
I do. Yeah,
That's
I've been
fantastic.
writing for him for about a year and a half now, and I've traditionally interviewed musicians, and
That's so cool.
yeah, I'll review their work and what have you, and like you, I've grown up reading and writing a lot, so I've become hyper obsessed with words and semantics and whatever that follows. And I saw this movie Lamb back in September. I went with a few friends, and to those who don't know what it's about,
give a synopsis.
it's about this Icelandic couple, and they own a sheep farm out in the mountains.
In the Himalayas. No, I'm just
yeah. where they eat people. But I'm grossly misinformed about the fucking Himalayas, I realize. But no, what they do is they're pulling babies from they're birthing lambs, and one of them comes out and half human, half lamb.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Which it's like,
And they kind of hide that for a minute.
they do,
For
and
a
you know
long
what?
minute.
I think that was like what was so interesting, because I'd imagine that in the theater, and they start raising it as their own, and it gets quirky, it gets goofy, it gets silly,
Yeah.
but it's also dingy and dark at the same time. That's why I loved it. I was like, there's sometimes you see a film and whereas like it just doesn't hit, there's always one person in the row that you're with, or a lot of the time, and they're like,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, what the fuck did you see that I didn't? And they're like, everything. I was that person in that moment, this like fucking lamb child's running around in overalls and
It
like
is
pouring
strange.
cereal and stuff. But I was like, dude, it was just blowing my mind. And, I could talk about the particulars in depth, but
And you do in the article that you
I do.
wrote. I thought it was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, man.
That's the most recent article I released. It's a review of Lamb. So if you go, you can find it on the Mundane Magazine
I'm
website.
linking it. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
But what it was like, the experience in the theater was really interesting, because I'm curious as to how other audiences reacted. You know what I mean? Because Eli Roth said this when he released Cabin Fever. He's like, some people down in this part of the country were like, what the fuck? And then the other people were like, what the fuck? Like, that was the dumbest shit I've ever seen,
Different geographic locations and demographics.
And I remember being in that theater, and it was like, it was silent. Like everybody was responding very, very on cue to everything that was going on. And when they first revealed her body,
Yeah.
this child's body, and everybody just gasped. You know what I mean? Like it was this whispering gasp, that kind of like pervaded the whole theater, and it was eerie. It was really haunting, and like that experience, like seeing it in theaters, really made an impression upon me. And being surrounded by the people in the audience that I was fucking cool.
Yeah.
It really was. Having said that, the two people I was with, they were like, "What?"
and that was my experience. The people that I were with, and that's a beautiful point. That's like, I think often overlooked, is that depending on who you're in a movie theater with, it can make or break or alter your perception of cinema.
Big
or
time.
of whatever. That moment you described when you first see Ada, the lamb child, you see the human part of her.
Mm-hmm.
The audience that I was with, the general audience, not just my friends, laughed.
Yep.
They didn't gasp. They weren't they laughed.
That's what I mean. I'm so happy you said that. Because I knew, I'm like, I was so curious as to how audiences reacted. You know what I mean? In different areas.
And that set the tone, because there's a group mentality and a group peer
Big time.
pressure of, okay, this is how other people are perceiving this.
Yep.
Whether you can even recognize it, there's a subconscious impression there.
Big time. It's like a laugh track for a fucking sitcom. You know what I mean? It's like
Perfect example.
It's gonna look and seem different if there's no laugh track there.
Yeah. And had people gasp, maybe, people would have been like, oh, that's, because it does influence your perception of it.
Yeah.
And with that being said, there were and that kind of set the tone for the rest of the movie going experience.
Mm-hmm.
People were laughing when things were happening.
That's unfortunate, but it's an occupational hazard of going to see a film.
It is. It's something that that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And so that kind of ruined it for me. And if you're familiar with A24, like I said earlier, you've seen Midsummer,
Hereditary.
You've seen Hereditary. My God, Ari Aster. I'm a fanboy. He's a fucking genius.
Got a good one coming out
I can't
soon.
wait for Disaster Boulevard
Yeah.
with Joaquin Phoenix.
Great.
There are a lot of good movies actually. The Northman.
Oh yeah, that's a Robert Eggers flick.
Eggers, and that's got Nicole Kidman, both Skarsgård brothers.
Oh really?
Alexander and Bill.
No shit.
Alexander Skarsgård is the like the prince who's trying to avenge a blood oath or a blood debt. Willem Dafoe plays a fucking deranged hermit.
Hell yeah.
And Bjork is in it.
Oh really?
Yes.
Oh, sweet
and
Bjork.
Eggers co-wrote the script with an Icelandic poet.
No shit.
Famous.
This is what I'm talking about, man.
This is art.
This is when it comes to film and everything, and I mean, there's so much pretentious art, and there's so much pretentious film out there where I mean, you can easily walk away and just be like, what the fuck was that? Like, I get it, man, but I don't fucking get it, and I don't care to get it. Having said that, if I were in high school, I would pretend to be obsessed with it.
and let's go back to Nietzsche. Art is the proper task of life. Here we are.
I thought that was a Tony Danza quote. And you're telling me Nietzsche said that? No.
Nietzsche said that.
Never mind. It shadows my entire universe. But no, see, that's the thing is like A24, I mean, in horror films in particular, The Northman doesn't sound like it's going to be a horror film. This is the guy who did The Witch. This guy who did The Lighthouse.
It's going to be historically accurate.
Yes.
That like you expect. So, and just to build off that, the first time I saw The Witch was in college, and it was an upper-level English class. Actually, it was my capstone class, and it was the American Supernatural. And my professor, shout out Professor Knudsen, she's fucking awesome. She wrote her dissertation and thesis for her PhD on Puritan America. So when before the movie, she prefaced it with, hey, I wrote my thesis on this. This is the most accurate depiction in all of film history of Puritan America, down to the dialect, the fucking belt buckles, the boots, everything. She was like, this is it.
That's fucking cool.
And that kind of research and meticulous attention to detail in cinema, like that's what does it for me. Like if you want to go see Iron Man and all that shit, like that's fine.
Yeah.
Like I get it. The big boom, Michael Bay, like I understand. I get it. It's not for, but these guys, the Ari Asters, the Eggers, A24 in general, and there's other, like that's sort of like the broad, one that everyone knows. There's a lot of
they're the powerhouses.
They're the powerhouses.
They are the powerhouses. Hereditary, critics were saying that it very well could be crowned like the Exorcist of our generation.
Easily. I think so.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Nobody will ever forget that. I mean, it's funny because there's a lot of puns here. Fuck, how am I going to even start with the... It revolves around something to do with the head, in both films. And, God. Again, spoilers, in The Exorcist when she turns her head around all the way, and then in Hereditary when she gets her fucking head smashed off by the lamppost.
No CGI. I mean, like that head, when you see it, that is pure, like, makeup work. That is...
Apparently she wanted to keep the head, the little girl. They were like,
God.
You can't do that.
Yep. Okay, and oh my, yeah, here we are. We're in the A24 rabbit hole, and I'm fine here. We're gonna stay here, so stay with us.
Yeah,
because this shit is awesome.
It's great.
So that movie, and I think we've had this. I think you did like a poll, Hereditary, Midsummer. I feel like you did an Instagram poll, right?
Yes.
And I want to get into that because that is a conversation that people have, like that are aware of these films. It's almost like trying to pick my favorite Hayao Miyazaki film. It's like, is it Spirited Away or Howl's Moving Kid? Like, every time I watch the one, I'm like, well, that's the one.
Sure.
That's the one. But Hereditary, I have to say, like, one thing that I got super into in high school, as far as extracurricular studies go beyond Nietzsche, was occultism and esoteric philosophy.
Which I'm obsessed with. I mean, everything dark, Satan, occult, I think is fucking cool.
Yeah. And
I mean, I'm an atheist, but,
And here we are.
Yeah.
And I worked in a bookshop in Berkeley for years called Mayflower Bookshop. And Robert Thibodeau, shout out to him. I'm going to be interviewing him at some point. He's been there for 40, 50 plus years. He was the astrologer for the Grateful Dead, ZZ Top, Alice Cooper. He was on the Howard Stern show. He did work with Pearl Jam, members of the Bush administration. Timothy Leary walked through his bookshop and said, these are the roadmaps of consciousness. He was friends with Ginsberg, Ram Dass. I mean, prolific. Like sleeping in a tent with Jimi Hendrix type shit.
That's fucking sweet.
An amazing cultural icon.
Yeah.
Everyone go check out Mayflower Bookshop. But it's set up in such... And I got the job there. This is
Yeah, I was wondering
we will
what
get
was
back here.
What was the pint of working at the Mayflower?
This is
I'm
it.
sorry.
No,
Forget that. Cut that fucking pun out.
I am. This is going to go back to Hereditary, right? So, I go into this bookshop for the first time, and it's like, I don't like the Harry Potter shit, but it's like there are books everywhere. There's no organization.
You don't like Harry Potter?
I don't.
Oh man,
I don't, dude. I don't.
love Harry
and
Potter.
I'm gonna get crucified for that. But I was like Lord of the Rings guy till I die. Like it just it didn't.
I
hit
know
with
where
me.
I stand, and it's with the little people. Yeah, it is. At the end of the day.
I got a Warhammer table in the other room. Like
Yep,
that's what I was
saw
doing
that.
at that age.
I'm
and I'm still doing that.
I'm getting an insight into your new life, and this is very cool.
Thank you,
A
man.
lot of memorabilia in here.
I am a collector of sorts.
It's like if Buffalo Bill didn't skin people, he'd probably live here.
Well, you don't know. I got a basement.
I can't wait to see it, dude.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So we're going back to Hereditary. I swear. I go into this bookshop for the first time, and I'm blown away. Like I just had a connect. There's more teas. There's statues. There's everything. Like there's no order, rhyme, or it's chaotic and beautiful. And he's just like this cultural icon and relic that's just blowing my mind with this language. There's Nietzsche book. You know what I mean? Like he's hitting all of those linguistic points of mystery and mysticism. And for a year, I went there every single Wednesday and stayed from noon until close. And I would just sit with him and talk and buy books. And finally, he offered me a job. It was like a very student master, that kind of relationship.
Master
where
and apprentice kind of thing.
Yeah, but one of those things that he sold were rare esoteric, like actually primarily what he sold were esoteric books pertaining to, theosophy, Buddhism, Hinduism, but he had really old copies like of the Goetia, of Carl Jung's Red Book. Like he was a collector, and it bled through the public part of the store. And his house was just an extension of the bookshop too.
Oh, that's cool.
Just books everywhere.
That's
and
sweet.
the guy is just he's an amazing human being, and shout out to him. But this is my point. Back to Hereditary. That man, if you were to summon a demon, Paimon, and try to incarnate it into a human being, Hereditary is exactly how you would fucking do it. Like you wouldn't, and that's coming from somebody who has read Crowley, dabbled in this shit. I was immersed, and I wasn't interested in doing that, but that there was always a section of the bookshop that had that, and people would come in for it, right? So I had to be somewhat well versed in what it was, and just out of curiosity.
That was just me in different disguises, by the way. Those people that came in.
And those are stories for day, like crazy experiences
I
in
can
that
only
shop.
imagine.
From the most lovely people that you'd ever meet, the homeless lawyer with a sitar coming in, to someone methed out trying to manifest money immediately and needed the book to cast the spell.
Sounds like my future ex-wife.
And my point being with this very long roundabout story is that having been obsessed with just that world, Ari Aster once again, or I'm sorry, Robert Eggers, but this is Ari Aster. These guys both do their homework from the Puritan thing to Hereditary, and they don't show you necessarily how they're doing it, but the group and the books and the symbols that are incorporated into it. It is so fucking eerie. And I know a lot of people get freaked out just because, the head pops off and, there's a lot of just like, it's like the modern day Exorcist. But the homework there, it's not just like he waves a wand and casts a spell. Like they are performing it.
Actual rituals in a sense, yes.
Yeah, and I read an interview with Ari Aster, and he said that he had to do his homework to do it, to get that, and he said it fucked him up.
I bet.
For months,
I bet.
For maybe even a year.
Yeah.
That even just reading that information and downloading it in order to portray it in a film, he said, and you hear this, horror movies on the set, anomalies start to take place. He had that happen with Hereditary.
Really?
And yeah, just, I'll send you that.
I haven't heard any of this, actually. I would love to.
Nothing like, what's that movie? It had a couple where a bunch of actors died.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, what is it? I mean,
you know what I'm saying.
It's coming to mind.
It was a
too.
Steven Spielberg, and they built homes on an Indian burial ground, and then they ended up using real skeletons. And then Poltergeist.
Oh, thank you, Sammy.
Thank you, Sammy. Poltergeist. So here we go. Poltergeist, right? And we're on such a movie kick.
Mhm.
Poltergeist, the whole premise of it, it's Reagan economics, right? They're building houses on an Indian burial ground. Well, Steven Spielberg actually used real skeletons and dead bodies in the film, and then actors started dying throughout these movies.
Shit.
Like, that is one of the most cursed sets of all time.
I think The Exorcist had some of that stuff going on as well.
It did.
It did. Yeah, I mean, and I mean, if you get into the supernatural and or whatever the superstitious element of it all, then there's your brain can go in fucking circles. Obviously.
Yeah. What do you think about that? That like being an atheist, what element of how does that? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Without saying,
I mean, like how do you explain?
how do you
that?
reconcile the unexplainable in the sense of okay, we're creating Hereditary. We need to read the Goetia on How to Summon Paimon, and yeah,
I guess I'd have to start with knowing exactly what happened on the set.
sure,
And
let's see.
give
There
me
was
an
a plane.
example.
So not even just on the set, but the girl who played the daughter, died of a rare blood disease.
Okay.
Another actor died in a plane crash.
Mhm.
Somebody else died. There were like, I think, a dozen deaths over a span of time.
Sure.
There were all kinds of like electrical malfunctions and anomalies that took place. There's definitely a documentary on YouTube about all this shit,
Okay.
and it's well documented.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not saying like, obviously not all horror movies experience horror in real life, but there is sort of that trope of we're kind of messing with this stuff, and then it's reflected back in real life.
I guess the way I look at it, like any other thing, is because I've been an atheist since I was 17, and I've never personally experienced anything otherworldly and anything quote unquote supernatural or paranormal. Not for lack of trying.
Yeah, sure.
I've touched all the fucking altars in New Orleans and everything when they say don't do that. There's another story I'll tell you. Actually, fuck it, I don't even care. I was at the Nashville Historical Cemetery. God, this was 5 years ago now, and I was walking around with this girl I was dating at the time, and I bumped into this head. The place is really fucking cool, by the way. Like, we've done multiple photo shoots in there, and it's historic.
Yeah.
I bumped into this headstone that was in the ground, and it was loose. And I was like, oh, what the hell? And I lifted it out of the fucking ground. I still have that headstone. I stole it.
Oh, shit.
I stole it.
Oh, my God.
I might be a wanted man by the federal government, but
This is all allegedly.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything on here is allegedly.
Disclaimers. We probably should have said that first, but
That's crazy.
And she's like, "What the fuck are you doing with my bag?" I'm like,
You're
"What?"
like, this is mine.
Yeah, I was like, he's not using it. So I have tampered with things that way recklessly.
Even desecrated,
Yes.
one might say.
Oh, Jesus. Again, another story. I'm
Yeah.
not going to say what I'm going to.
So you haven't. I know where you're going with. Like, you think it might be interesting. There's some anomalies that take place, but from a personal standpoint, you haven't really experienced it.
No,
So
I have not. And if I had, I'd like to think that I would have the mindset that I have now when I hear about things like that, or if people tell me personal anecdotes where it's like, this happened. How the fuck do you explain it?
Yeah.
And you're familiar with this principle as well, being, a skeptic and everything, is it's like, well, centuries ago, the Vikings thought that lightning coming down from the sky was God talking to us,
Thor.
Yeah, exactly. And
Or Odin.
We could not wrap our brains around the possibility that there's anything but that. You know what I mean? And despite the fact that, we are in the 21st century now, and we are hyper intelligent, we also are so hyper not.
Right.
There will always be frontiers that we have yet to explore, things that we can't explain. So to me, when I see something like that, or I hear of something like that, whether it's on a movie set or in somebody's house, or wherever these things take place, all those
graveyards.
Yeah, graveyards.
Or Luke's living room, since he took the headstone.
Again, I'm fucking trying, dude, but none of the dead people want to talk to me. Maybe if I finally start eating them, they'll talk to me.
Oh my God.
But it's this. It's like, dude, that's probably just our lightning. Essentially, it is maybe we did accidentally tap into something, or there's something interdimensional. I don't know.
I love that.
You know, maybe we touched a nerve, what have you. I
some
mean,
kind of cosmic nerve.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we need to anthropomorphize it.
Exactly.
Like everything else.
Yeah, because I mean, you think about it. Have we ever been able to explain anything or learn anything by one saying, you know, jumping to the
God did
chase
that.
and saying, yeah, it's God. Is it, you know, God's more of an a failure to explain is essentially what it is. Like, is it God? Is it otherworldly? Is it the devil or
it's
what
a gap
have you?
in knowledge.
Is it a gap in knowledge?
Or the God of Gap, right? Or the gaps of God. There's some kind of like.
I like God of Gap.
Yeah.
Although that sounds
Gay
like
and proud.
that's well, if you say God of Gap, and I think something like it sounds like a porn star's name. Like that's him. He's got a huge cock. He's
That's
the God
Kanye
of Gap.
West.
Yeah, you got to get him on here.
He thinks he's God.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's plenty of disciples who would attest to that. But
you know what? On one of
them.
our last episodes, we said that if Kanye started a cult, which it seems like he's doing in Montana, people would sign up in droves.
I can't wait, man.
Yeah, I can't wait. He's ready to sign up.
I don't really even listen to his music, but fuck.
I don't want to go down. This is such a snaky conversation, and I love it. We can just go anywhere. This is like lightning, I feel like. So stay with us. The God of the Gaps. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson references it. And I think you're really...
Richard Dawkins
Richard
talks about it
Dawkins
too. I met him a few years ago.
No.
I shook his hand. He was a fucking asshole. It was awesome.
He was an asshole.
It was
I would
great.
expect him to be an
Yeah,
asshole.
I know. If he had been nice, I would not have been happy.
Yeah, you would have been like,
Yeah,
oh, fuck
like,
you.
no,
It's like
Santa's
Christopher
not
Hitchens.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did Hitchens say? No, Dawkins... Let's see, the Four Horsemen. We got Dawkins, Daniel
Harris.
Dennett, Harris,
And Hitchens.
Hitch.
Yeah.
Those guys majorly influenced me.
Yes.
I actually, at Mayflower, I bought my copy of God Is Not Great.
I have that book.
And I love that he was carrying it because, like, you need that in a bookshop like that.
Definitely.
But what you just, with the lightning of Thor's hammer, striking down, humanity, and you alluded to it and you kind of said it actually, we've never really advanced by just copying out
Never.
of an explanation.
No.
We had to go in and figure it out. So, for instance,
Exactly.
let's say a house is haunted.
Yeah.
Is it interdimensional? There is some kind of explanation, right? Or there is somebody behind it, because Houdini went around and busted people and wrote a fucking pamphlet about because there was a huge surgence in psychics and mediums after the world wars. People were just capitalizing on that.
Yep.
Like, oh yeah, your loved one is coming through. And Houdini would go in disguise and be like, lever, curtain, this dude, that dude. And they hated him. And
it's so symbolic. It is. That whole thing is symbolic. And quite honestly, the people who are people, quote unquote, the things, the entities, I don't mean to attach animism when I say entities, but whatever is putting levers
energy
there, whatever you want to call it, for whatever reason, the levers are there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's
metaphorical levers.
Yes, the metaphorical levers are there. And it's our job to find them, and find out what happens when we pull them in that regard. And it's more than anything, dude. It's just our ignorance of the construct of the universe that we understand, as we, as humbly as we can say, is ever expanding. We haven't really gotten into experience and consciousness yet. Sam Harris talked about that in The End of Faith, in that book that was fucking great.
I love that book.
Yeah, it's fantastic. That was kind of what he ended on, was we need to start experimenting in consciousness in a scientific faction. So it's like two things that have never answered any questions. Is it's something supernatural, it's something God-based or devil-based, and furthermore, the other thing is we can't explain this. We will never be able to explain this with our tools, with our finite tools. Yes, we have finite tools. Our tools are finite. Our awareness is finite, but
our senses are finite.
It's you should never just force quit like that.
I love that. Yeah,
you shouldn't. And I mean, in the meantime, I will say, as somebody who reveres evidence and reveres science, and let's say is we don't know yet.
Yeah.
We have no fucking clue. So I'm until we have some beacons to follow, then I can't say what it is. I mean, the first thing we think about is like, is it interdimensional? Are there things going on in this way?
Elves?
Yeah, the DMT elves. Yeah, them and those guys and the squirrels that run around are the ones running the world.
And the birds.
Yes, the birds,
the mechanical birds,
and the gay frogs. Right,
they're turning the frogs gay.
Turning the frogs gay.
Did you see that he just lost a huge lawsuit against the Sandy Hook people?
No,
Alex Jones.
I did not see that.
He put out a bunch of fucking, falsified information that they were crisis actors, and now he owes the families like millions of dollars. That had happened this week.
Well, it's
Side note, but
it's probably the only news you're going to hear about Alex Jones since his falling out.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no idea that was going on.
no, there's a little pitter patter with Joe Rogan kind of stringing him along, but to tie him into the atheist and like the evidence thing, Hitchens said what can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Sam Harris, one of his recent books, maybe his most recent, Spirituality Without Religion.
Oh,
Fucking
yeah.
awesome. I have the copy. You can take it with you if
I
you
have
want,
not
man.
read it.
You're taking it with you.
Okay, all
and
right.
you can mail it back or bring it back.
With the interface, I'll send the interface back.
But it's been sitting at the front door for a minute. I've wanted people to kind of, oh, what's that?
Beautiful.
It's amazing. And he is super, Sam Harris, we could talk up and down. He's got a master's in philosophy. He's a neuroscientist.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
I know he gets a lot of like heat for bullshit, in my opinion, because he has some hot takes about the Middle East.
Well, so does everybody.
So does everybody.
Yeah, everyone. I mean, if they're saying something, it's something worth at least considering.
Yes.
Is the thing.
And I love his arguments about morality, being, there is an evolutionary aspect to that.
Oh, no doubt about it.
That it is in our best interest.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to come from a supernatural source.
No,
Like,
it's
of course
very
we would
much
be good to each other.
It's embedded in us.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, obviously, we're not always going to do the right thing, but when it comes down to it in other species, I'm actually reading a really cool book right now called Sex at Dawn. It's about the prehistoric origins of human sexuality, and it gets into our social how we were socially before agriculture and everything. Like,
Sweet.
is the standard narrative of sexuality really like, the man provides, the woman is selective about sex and what have you, and there's offshoots to everything, and essentially what it's saying is we were using sex socially because we're hypersexual creatures. We were using sex socially when we were still living in caves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was a bonding experience. So, species are geared toward bonding. Like there's apparently a species of vampire bats that they'll go out, they'll suck the blood, they'll come back, and they'll regurgitate it into the other bats' mouths. And the ones who don't, they remember them. They say, "Oh, you didn't share any blood. You stingy blood hoarder," and then they fall behind. You know what I mean? So it's actually reinforced in species to be mutually sustaining and be good to one another.
That's incredible. What was the book called? Dawn?
It's Sex at Dawn.
Sex at Dawn.
It's really fucking
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, you'll dig it, man.
And
it's
you'll
wonderful.
I think you'll get a kick out of this Sam Harris book. He talks, so being a neuroscientist, he is a big proponent for meditation. And he goes into the science behind it, like what it does to them. It's not the foo-foo, woo-woo, like you're becoming a Buddha type shit.
Yeah.
Which is fine, if that's your cup of tea, great. I was initiated into Tibetan Buddhism. I've done
I
silent.
remember you really were into that for a while.
Absolutely.
You were thick into it.
Yeah, and I was super thin. Vegan boy.
You were?
Yeah, and I loved it. Like, it kind of, to go full circle, it was kind of like my acid after acid.
Hell
like,
yeah.
It was like I think Maynard James Keenan said, like, we got to, I think I said this on a different podcast, so I don't want to quote it, but, like you spend the next, you take psychedelics and spend the next 10 years of your life trying to get there without the drug. And I did that. Like, I really went in, like, and wanted to see how I could, not to see if I could trip permanently.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm already doing that. But to, like, okay, let's go in without this. And then it was like, all right, let's go in without religion. Let's go in without the spiritual element. Let's strip how many layers
Occam's razor.
Yes. How many layers can I strip here? And now I'm naked.
Surprise.
All that you wear tie-dye long enough and it all turns to black. I don't know.
Imagine that.
But this new Sam Harris book, super cool. He talks about his MDMA experience as a young kid, actually. Not a young kid, but as a teenager, and having that feeling of unity.
Yeah.
And then wanting to recreate it or find it. And he does so brilliantly throughout the book. Also, to go once again back, we are always looking, we're a pattern recognizing species. Like, that's what we do, right? So if, say, we haven't found the lever yet, maybe, and this is just one thing that I've thought about, you go into a temple or a yoga studio or something, and everyone ohms every single day there, right? 7 days a week, people are, they're chanting, right? These ancient mantras.
Sure.
And we know that people can't create violins that are better than ones that have been played for hundreds of years. Like, it actually changes the structure of the wood.
Even as a musician, I did not know that.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, and they can use the best materials, but those ones that have been played over and over. And I think, well, shit. Okay, so if you're chanting these beautiful, or you go into a room with intention, you're changing potentially the chemical structure, or whatever of the room. And then maybe like, okay, let's say there's a haunting, right? What if there was yelling and violence and domestic abuse?
Yeah.
And that shit gets stuck in the walls.
Yeah.
And it's just bouncing around. It doesn't mean that there's an entity in there. It just means that trauma took place here.
Yep.
And energy can't be created or destroyed.
I think if we're gonna consider anything, if we're gonna put any sort of a bonnet on it, that rhymed.
Bonnet on it. Bonnet on it, baby.
It's something like that. What we can boil down to energy in the sense that we don't know what consciousness is really. It's beautiful at times. It's vicious at times.
Yeah.
And it's very boring at times. We all know what those sensations are like.
That's lamb.
Yeah. All of those things. Yeah. Yes. And I'm glad you bringing up the films again because we talk about Hereditary and we talk about the supernatural and everything tying in. What blows my fucking mind, dude, in the midst of all of this conversation about supernatural paranoia, what have you, it's just so fucking interesting to me because anytime you talk, most of the time, you talk to somebody like, oh, have you watched the new Ted Bundy documentary, have you watched this or this and that? And they're like, oh, I love true crime podcasts. You know what I mean? Like,
it's the most popular.
It is.
Murder
I mean,
podcasts.
I have my, yes, I'm on Hinge, and most of the women are like, oh, I geek out on true crime podcasts and everything. But the same people, like you ask them, oh, have you seen The Exorcist? Have you seen Hereditary? A movie is essentially fiction, and then and anything they've heard sparse accounts of paranormal phenomena actually happening. Like, no, I don't fuck with that.
Yeah,
they're
isn't
like,
that weird?
They're like, I don't fuck with it because as human beings, and it's why we attach. I think it's why we attach explanations to things that we don't know. Is because we're terrified of chaos. Like.
Absolutely.
We make order out of chaos no matter where we are. And that's why, like, so much of my brand, I mean, my podcast is called The Devil You Know.
Yep.
Everything. I've
Shout
got
out.
tattoos and everything, with the, like, occult symbols and what have you. And it's like, so much of my brand is, like, based on the devil because I just think, like, Darth Vader's cooler than Luke Skywalker, you know what I mean? It's just, it's a cool symbol, cool literary symbol, but... with Western civilization, even non-religious people, they're like, I don't fuck with devil shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you have never been to church, so how does this factor into your perception of the world? And it's like, because to human beings, particularly, of Western culture, that, like, the symbol of Satan, the symbol of the occult, whatever it is the ultimate. We don't know.
Yeah.
So we don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
So we don't know, so we don't. Like, we've heard little things, even the slightest inkling.
The smallest scale of the dragon.
Yes, that there could be something going on, something malevolent that we can't control. We freak the fuck out.
Yeah.
And we're like, no. And it's like...
Wow. Yeah, man, go.
It's just, I'm not now. My wheels are turning. You know what I mean?
No,
To
that's
me,
amazing.
it blows. It's so interesting. It really is the phenomenon. Like, whether people know it or not, it's like the devil. Even if Jesus isn't there for them, the devil is there. Like
the unknown is there.
Yeah, like, I don't fuck with Ouija boards or anything like that. I'm like, but you'll go, watch the new Halloween movie, or you'll go,
or a Gacy documentary.
Exactly, all about tangible threats of people getting murdered and ripped to pieces.
And the thing is, it's what you're saying. It's packaged in a nice, neat little box.
Yes.
Of, we know when it started, we know when it ended, we found all the bodies,
we can gauge
and
the threat.
then in blank date he did this. Everything is there, so it's almost like getting the devil in a bottle and shaking it up and being like, "Whoa, yeah, cool." Like, I get to see this shit, this really evil shit, but I get to vicariously enjoy it.
Yep.
Through a well-documented, scientific, objective, maybe not objective, but you know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
Like a documentary.
Yeah, it's like going to a zoo and looking at a dangerous animal behind bars.
Yes.
Essentially, like, we know what that animal
is. Instead of experience, like, don't go to the jungle type shit, but like, I don't fuck with a Ouija board. I'm not we're not summoning Paimon
Mm-hmm.
type shit. And even lesser degrees of that, like we could take it into like, man, this is deep. This is really like words kind of, but even words fail, to a certain degree, but to shift it from, okay, we don't mess with, symbols of Lucifer or spells or Crowley or anything like that. It's embedded in our culture. Like Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page collected Crowley items, and you have these Christian people that are like rocking the Led Zeppelin shirts, thinking it's the coolest thing in the world, and the fucking Zozo symbols, that is all picked from books written about magic with a K. Or for instance, every Clint Eastwood movie you've ever seen, he's Prometheus, he's Lucifer, he is the shadowy figure, like the independent, like the rebel archetype is so American, yet it is the story of Lucifer, the fallen angel, the person that went against the grain.
Yeah, guy, and we talked about Paradise Lost a while back, which I fucking love Paradise Lost.
Dude, I took a fucking whole class on it.
Paradise Lost is so good. It was phenomenal. It was
John
so
Milton.
Good. Yeah.
Shout out John Milton. No, and I love that. Yeah, and we've had that conversation, but that story, just like the tale of the fall.
Yeah, it's the ultimate sympathy for the devil.
It is. Yeah. And William Blake, like Milton wrote it and William Blake illustrated it.
Yeah, and those paintings are beautiful.
Oh my God.
They're beautiful. I think of Red Dragon every
I was
time.
just going to say, and go right back into another movie that people maybe don't fuck with, or maybe do. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing, is they're like, the Hannibal movies, those are kind of cool, but I mean, they are really grisly. And, it's funny we bring those things up. I was watching Silence of the Lambs with a friend of mine about a year ago now, and he's pretty green in the cinematic realm, so I get to walk his hand through it.
Yeah, and you get to re-enjoy those movies.
Exactly, and little things you catch after not seeing them after years. What Silence of the Lambs does throughout, because it is grimy, dude. Yeah. It is like, it makes you so uncomfortable, and obviously it's the subject matter and everything like that, but it actually touches nerves. Like, it plays on your sensations in ways that you don't even realize. Like, from the start of that movie, when just the bulk of the conversations that are taking place, cuts back and forth in the camera, characters staring straight into the fucking lens, straight into the lens. They're not looking off camera.
They're looking into you,
right into you. You know what I mean? Right the fuck into you. And when Lecter's talking to Starling, and he's looking through the bars, he's looking right at you, and that's fucking bold. Yeah, that's a big break in the the cinematic construct. Wall.
Yeah,
it is,
and it's also the animal in the zoo that you're talking about.
Yes,
but instead of it looking away or being a documentary, he's looking into you.
Yep,
and just as like we watched all of those over the pandemic again, so like I'm fresh with Red Dragon and
me too. Actually, we all dove into. I remember I watched all those again.
Yeah, there was a lot of time to do that.
Yeah,
but man, what an interesting thing, and I think you're so right. And we also, to take it back out of how we need to, how we maybe our preferred method of dealing with the supernatural is, we do have to objectify it in the sense of like we have to try to quantify it or have evidence or say we don't know.
Yeah.
Instead of, it was a demon or it was a spirit or it was,
exactly
pawning it off to some animistic explanation.
And it's like, what, if you want to believe that, that's fine. I mean, it's not doing us any favors.
Yes.
It's really not.
It's not.
It's not doing us any favors.
It's not doing you any favors either.
No, it's
the
not.
Individual who's thinking
exactly.
that.
If you want to be in control, or if you want to understand something and understand that it could be understood at some point.
Yeah.
There's a method by which we find things out. And whereas it may seem completely and out of this world, like how the fuck are you ever going to explain that by the laws of science? It's the scientific method. I'm not talking about beakers in a lab. I'm talking about question everything and garner evidence.
The tenets.
Yeah, simple as that.
Yep.
Question everything, garner evidence, and test that evidence over and over and over again, no matter how many times it takes.
Yeah.
And we may find something out. Odds are, and however long we have left on the earth, because human beings have not been here long at all.
No. And our brains reflect that. I think Hitchens said, he said something to the effect of like, we're... Our prefrontal cortex is too small. Our adrenal glands are still too big. Like the brain hasn't caught up to where maybe technology and science is leading. Like we still have those primitive urges.
That's interesting. I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah, and Hitch he's my favorite.
Yeah, he's a badass dude.
He is a bad motherfucker.
He is like a testimony to the fact that smoking cigarettes is cool. Smoking cigarettes is fucking cool, dude.
And he didn't
Your
get
health teachers were
esophageal
lying.
cancer. He didn't get esophageal cancer from God cursing him. He got it from smoking cigarettes.
Goddamn
God damn
right.
it.
Yep.
And that was hereditary.
Ooh,
Damn.
we could do this all night.
And let's jump to Ari Aster's other film, Midsummer, because I think this segues nice.
Did you see my tattoo I just got?
Dude, I haven't seen it in the flesh.
I'll show you. Quite literally in the flesh. Yeah.
These puns are fucking killer.
It's wonderful.
It's like we're wordsmiths or something. I don't know.
It's
like we have podcasts, dude.
Probably shouldn't. I think what it means for me is I was a virgin way too long.
And I want to eat people.
Yep. That much hasn't changed.
Clarice.
Yep. That's a physical cough.
So the debate between Hereditary and Midsummer.
Yeah.
Luke has a fucking badass Midsummer tattoo on his back. It's right before one of the major rituals take place. I think the hands are wiping over the ruins.
He cuts his
with
hands
blood.
and he's dragging his hands down the ruins.
And I think I sent you that, or I posted that on my story because I watch these every couple months, and you were like, "Yo, I'm getting that tattoo tomorrow." I'm like the exact scene from a fucking 2.5 hour movie, and you were like, "Yep, that's the one, bud."
Yep.
Like, and I was just another cool synchronic moment.
It's the meta details that are really cool.
It is. I love that shit.
friendships.
For instance, I was working today, right, and this silver-haired, kind of granola-y guy, he's vegetarian, sitting at my bar. I was picking up, small social cues from him just being a bartender, right? And he pays, and Friend of the Devil is on by the Grateful Dead. Once again, connecting to everything we're fucking talking about. And he hands me a $20 bill, and he goes, can you break this down for me? And the song says, as he hands it to me, took my $20 bill.
Vanished in thin air.
And it vanished into thin air. And I said, did you hear that? Did you catch that? And he said, what? And I said, you handed me the 20, and Jerry just sang.
No shit.
Yeah, and he loved it. He was just like, I'll tell you what, I am a friend of the devil. And he smiled. And we ended up talking. He saw Pink Floyd in 73 for the Dark Side of the Moon tour.
That's so
at
cool.
Olympia. He saw David Bowie with Stevie Wonder as an opener for
That's cool.
$5.
No shit.
So, I mean,
these
just
are all Pine Knob shows.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally, dude. Anyway,
That's a great story, though. I got to remember that.
Isn't
That's
that cool?
Very clever.
Like we've just been on this devil kick for what? I mean, that to me is an appetizer for this.
Yeah,
because the
bit.
universe is constantly playing these little coincidental, synchronic games, and if you're listening, it's there, but it's not. No one's saying it.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing. Like from a biblical standpoint, it's almost like a lot of these hardcore Christians will be like, it's happening, the prophecy's coming true, the devil is cool. And I'm like, well, yeah, it kind of is. Like, and I remember a few years ago when I was like really getting into this, and I'm without sounding like a pompous, like, I was a visionary, but I remember saying to myself, like, before I moved to Nashville, and I was like, okay, Satan's fucking cool. The occult is cool.
Yeah.
All of this is cool. I was like, what's going to happen? Pop culture is going to shift toward that. They're going to start incorporating satanic innuendos and stuff, and it's going to be cool. And then, I mean, even Billie Eilish comes out, boom, hits the scene. Like, All the Good Girls Go to Hell. I love Billie Eilish, like one of the only pop artists I really
Got
like.
her on vinyl.
Do you really?
Oh yeah,
Fuck yeah.
The glow in the dark.
Yep. I'm all about her. If she's listening, then
she will be.
Keep it up. Yeah, let's just assume she
we'll
is.
manifest that.
Damn right. And then I mean, even in smaller realms like that Sabrina
the Teenage
reboot,
Witch.
yes,
Yeah,
they did a reboot, and it's all Satan based and everything. And this is like, I mean, a lot of this stuff is geared toward women.
It is. Well, and we go to the witch. I mean, Satanism in general, like you if you look at the roots of it in America, it's demonizing the feminine. It always has been. The dominator culture, as Terrence McKenna would call it, the westernized male big three religions, Judeo-Christian, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. It is a wrathful, angry, phallic god. And women are not priests.
And I guarantee you that God's got a tiny dick.
100%. And
got a tiny
A24 should do like an Old Testament like movie.
Oh,
How
I mean,
sick
all about
would that
that.
be? Like the Book of Job.
Yeah.
Fuck. Come on, man. But truly, like, yeah, it is geared towards women.
Yeah.
And we see the rise of the feminine. in our time.
Quite literally, the rise of the feminine, as it was in The Witch, because the only good that's another mind-blowing thing about these films that, you know, these A24 movies and why I'm so obsessed with them is obviously our generation is taking horror seriously. They're like, let's give this genre what it deserves. That whole movie, man, it was from the start bad. There was no conflict back and forth. It was just everything's going wrong. The only good thing that happens is she sells herself to the fucking devil, and then she rises above
the societal and familial standards and constructs.
Yeah, she's levitating above the fire.
She's levitating above the fire. Yeah, it's dope.
All of that is so fucking cool to me. And
would thou like to live deliciously?
I got to show you my witch tattoo. Actually, I don't know.
That's what you're just got it in your skin, my friend.
I know. It's what's under the skin that should scare you. Yeah, but
don't eat me.
No, dude. No offense, but don't make me insult you here. I don't want to insult you. You're not the type I would salt.
I want to go back to the what you're saying, like how pop culture has embraced the satanic or that kind of rebel archetype. Do you? Because I'm at a little bit of like I feel gatekeepery about this. I think it's ultimately a good thing because I'd rather live in a society like that than one that's pushing Judeo-Christian narratives down our throat. Like that's just been fucking civilization.
It's out of style.
It's out of style, right? But I also like companies like Blackcraft Cult.
I love Blackcraft.
Do you? Yeah. Okay. So some of their stuff is okay. Some of it I'm like, all right, that's a cat with a with its eyes rolled back and his head with an upside down cross and a slice of pizza. Yeah. Like it's see, that kind of shit is like,
it's going to get trendy.
That's what I'm saying. But when something gets
not
trendy,
forbidden anymore,
and that's what makes it sacred to me.
Yeah.
But also, I'm a prisoner of that kind of construct of society. Like we were attracted to that initially, in part because of it being that.
Yeah.
A lot of it's and that's there, but
it was the forbidden. It was, like, you know, and it's still. I mean, here's the thing: is like even, you know, a sorority girl's not going to walk around with a fucking pentagram on her shirt, more than likely. You know what I mean? And be like, "Hail Satan!"
Right?
You know, there's still going to be some embedded like
Judeo-Christian
discomfort.
Values.
Yeah, whether they know it or not. And I mean, sorority girls and frat boys alike.
No doubt. And they'll watch Sabrina.
Oh yeah,
and enjoy it.
But you ask them, hey, you want to go to a Ouija board and
nope.
You know, in the graveyard? Granted, that's not a very becoming date anyway.
Probably not. No. You're like, hey, I got a tombstone.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to meet that girl. Yeah, but no, I just like, man, it does blow my mind. I like to see it in culture. I just like, here's the thing is I remember at that point I was like, I want to get ahead of this. Like, I want to make my brand. I want to make my music all devil shit.
Yeah.
You know, before it gets really big. And
what year was this roughly?
But 2016.
2016.
Yeah, 2016 is when I was like, I want to write like this. I want to do these songs. I want to make music like this. I want to make art like this. That really, you know, it is scary and it's dangerous. You know, you get the shock rock Marilyn Manson effect. You get the Alice Cooper thing going on and what have you. I did not that I was trying to be Marilyn Manson.
No. I know what you're saying,
but I feel
it's
like
a formula.
I had something.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I feel like you still can. You know, it still is. Like the devil thing is still very much part of my brand. But I remember saying like, I want to do this. I want to make something really cool with this dark aesthetic to it.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing that. Albeit a little bit later on. I mean, I took a few detours with drugs and alcohol that, like, you know, put some shit on the back burner without a doubt.
Every devil does.
Yes, exactly. But the devil does it successfully. Yeah, he can get fucked up all the time, every day, all day.
Lucky him.
Yeah,
or her.
I'm both probably. He's probably got that.
Lucky Sherm.
Yep. Lucky Shim.
But let's talk about that, man. We've reminisced. We've jumped into film. We've talked about philosophy, personal and otherwise. You're a musician. You're an artist. We're here to talk about that too.
Yeah.
And your brand. So you went with this devil aesthetic. It's working.
Yeah, it seems to be now because I'm pivoting a little bit more. I'm exploring actually having direct commentary on things. Like I'm writing. I just kind of got an offer. I don't want to speak too soon, but I got an offer for a different magazine that, you know, is also going to be incorporating into pop culture and what have you. And
obviously with the podcast and certain and everything else, and like I'm getting more into creative writing prose, like extensive things that you know otherwise get lost when you just try to funnel it into a song. And I've loved writing music. I will always love writing music. I'm actually releasing a cover of Lou Reed or Velvet Underground, Pale Blue Eyes. That's coming.
Love that shit.
It's one of my favorite songs ever. Yeah, I have a girl named Anana Kay who's hopping on it, and I interviewed her last week. But
wonderful.
I'm having a grand old time with the music thing, more so than ever because I'm not forcing it on myself in one particular context. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. And you moved down to Nashville, God, almost 6 years ago. That's incredible.
You were there the last night.
Yeah,
I left.
man. Yeah.
You were out for the woodshop. Yep.
And you're writing, you're performing.
Yes.
You've got a great group of musician friends, successful.
Yeah, and they're not all musicians either. You know, artists and just also just good people, man.
Yeah.
You know, I've met some wonderful people down there, and then I'm working full time at a youth rehab center as well. I don't know if I told you that.
No, tell me about that.
Oh shit.
If you want to.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm working there. I actually, my sponsor helped me get a job there. And I work with 14 to 18-year-old boys who are addicted to a myriad of everything.
Wow.
You know, all that stuff. And we do step work throughout the day. And sometimes it's, hey, let's go play some basketball, or hey, stop snorting that Concerta that you stole from the nurse's station when no one else was looking.
Oh my God.
Both of those things have happened.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. And I love it. I really do. You know, it's consistency, and I also have a maneuverable schedule that allows me to do these other things that I fucking love doing. And I get to work with people who have been through the same things, and you know, it's all about kind of perpetuating that solution.
I like the use of the word perpetuate there, because usually we hear it in perpetuating violence or perpetuating systemic racism, you know, but you're using it in the context of repairing or catching before, you know, or perhaps what you were kind of saying, like going back to your old high school self. What would you say? You're getting these kids in those formative years where you can kind of be like, hey, man. Not that you were, you know, experiencing that in high school, but they're there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I have
like,
the power of hindsight where I can look at them and I can say, well, I do this with them, and I work the 12 steps. I have sponsees. I have a sponsor to this day who I call, and all this. So there's a world outside of it all that is strictly service based, where I'm not getting paid.
Yeah.
You know, it's step 12, and ultimately I had to, for as long as I avoided the 12 steps. I was like, this is my only fucking choice. Otherwise, I'm going to die. So I do the 12 steps. But with these kids, what I'll tell them now is like, I have a few mantras. One, I sit there and I say, I don't get paid enough to sit here and bullshit you, dude. Like, I don't. I could
literally.
I really don't. You know, I said, so you can take this or leave it, because you can't force anybody to want it.
Yeah.
You know, and there is, you know, you mentioned something about getting ahead of it. There's no getting ahead of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Really, when it gets down to it, it's like, I know that sounds defeatist, but I know for myself, like addicts like myself, there's no getting ahead of it. It's you hit rock bottom as many times as you need to, assuming you live through it and you hit it hard enough to the point where you're like, okay, I'm done. I can't fucking do this anymore. And it's the thing is, you know, with young addicts, a lot of the time they still need to figure that out. Yeah. They do. They need to get their asses kicked. You know I did. I didn't figure it out till I was 27. And I'll tell them that. I'll say, like, you know, man, I'm not here counterfeiting cautionary tales or feeding you platitudes. It's like, this is life or death.
Yeah.
And it's yours if you want it, but I can't force you to want it. And there's a really beautiful process that takes place. Like, whether they leave there and they relapse, or whether they get better on a daily, you know, they accept it's a day by day thing. There's no cure, but yeah, because we just had a kid come back and visit us after being out for 6 months, and he's fucking kicking ass, man. He really, really is. There's a few who have left, and they're like, this is it. Like, they're ready to embrace it.
Yeah.
But by and large, it's you know, it's dealing with kids who have a very tough road ahead. And I know, because I walked it, and I know how long it will take. And the thing is like you said, I wasn't quite there in high school. Yeah. So, like, I tell them now, I'm like, dude, if you're shooting meth right here now, you know, and robbing people, like, where are you going to be in a fucking year?
You know, if you're not
That's
dead,
insane.
where the fuck are you going to be?
Yeah.
You know, so they
Prison.
get these
Yeah, you fill
eye-opening
in the blanks,
experiences.
right.
Yes. And no matter what, they can't unhear what we tell them. So that's actually a huge part of my life. I went on a tangent, but
No, that's great.
I fucking love it. I really do.
That's part of what you're doing. You know, like, yes, you're a musician, you're an artist, you're a writer, but you also are a sponsor. You know, you're not a sponsor, but you work with these kids.
Not at the job. I'm not a sponsor.
Yeah.
Because I you know, if you're getting paid, you're not doing service. But I am a sponsor. Like I
So
have,
you are, yeah.
I talked to my sponsor earlier today. Actually,
Yeah.
called me.
It's huge.
Yeah, I love it, man.
That's
It's a gift.
Man, I think also a lot of that work typically is tinged or tainted with a religious, with religious rhetoric.
It's very funny you bring that up because
And-
after everything we talked about just now, it's actually leading into this. But finish your thought. I want to actually.
That was kind of it. I mean, like, because you're doing it without that, and I think that's fucking sick.
Well, here's the funny thing, Mr. Josh Cook. In lieu of everything I just said, and I still like firmly am an atheist, and it's great because I can tell kids that, and I can tell sponsees that, and people that when they're like, dude, they're talking about God all the time and this and that.
You're kind of a unicorn.
Yeah,
in the,
I'm there most. I am, but I'm not. You know,
Okay.
like there are plenty of atheists who work the 12 steps, but the thing is you get to step 2. It came to believe that a power greater than ourselves
Right.
could restore us to sanity.
Correct. You believe in a higher power.
So yeah, like when I say higher power, like dude, it's funny. You hear me talking to these people. You're gonna hear me use the word God.
Yeah.
Just not incessantly, as much as I need to, but I will say, like, you know, yes, you have to put your. I'm sorry, don't hold it against me. I will say you have to put your faith in God.
Whoa!
I know, how fucked up is that? But here's the thing.
Luke,
I know.
who are you?
I can leave now, right? But here's what it always comes with a subtext, and I will tell them this. So, like, first off, let me tell you, I'm a fucking atheist.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, I'll have been for a very, very long time. But when we say God in that program, and this is what puts a lot of people off before they get this explanation, because I know I was one of those guys who was like, fuck this, I go to meetings, I'm like, they're talking about God and shit, no way.
Yeah.
You know, and the way that my first sponsor said, he said, God is good, orderly direction. Whatever the fuck you want to call that, I don't care what it is, like whatever it is, dude, it does not originate within yourself. It is not your personal little cognitive moral compass, because
Right.
Dude, I tried to do it on my own. I tried to like make the best decisions by myself,
Yeah.
and I couldn't fucking do it. I kept burning shit to the ground and hurting
Yeah.
myself and hurting other people, and like my life was unmanageable entirely. So I realized, like, yeah, willpower is great. I don't have that naturally. I always thought I did. I don't, and that's totally fine. I love not being in control of certain things, and furthermore, being willing to ask for help, and that is comprised of. I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
No, doesn't that go back to what you were describing the devil as, though? What you just said. You love not being in control of things,
Yeah.
and being able to be open and vulnerable.
It's actually a very good point,
right?
Yeah,
and it goes back to your definition of the devil you may know.
pretty much. Yeah,
like
that's actually
of what people are afraid of.
I think I should be paying you for this. I think you should become my therapist. Yeah.
That's what podcasting is.
I
Good
suppose so.
podcasting, I think, is a form of therapy, right?
These chairs are comfortable. I actually did see my therapist earlier today. And
These chairs are comfortable.
Yeah, they are. This is a shrink chair.
But that's you were still going, but that's just that struck me as like a really unique connection there.
Well, it's funny you say that because we had a couple of these kids writing letters to Satanic Church saying, "Hey, thanks for being a part of my recovery." You know, having said that, they say in the literature of the Satanic Bible, it's like, yes, you can indulge in drugs and indulge in not compulsion but indulgence.
This is LaVey, right?
Yes,
This is not Lucian Greaves.
No,
because there's
LaVey.
two different groups.
Oh, there are. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's the Satanic Church, and then there's the yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Actually,
You're talking about Anton LaVey.
I
right?
am. Yeah,
Okay,
as much as I know about Satanism, but no, LaVey was kind of like, fuck off. I don't really.
Yeah, I'm not a
But-
huge
No, he
LaVeyan or whatever.
didn't really know what the fuck he was talking about.
He was a
honestly.
carny, which is
Yeah.
nothing against that, but like he just kind of
His whole life was just
it was hedonistic and
Yeah, it was theatrical. I think it was more than anything.
It was more of a
theatrical.
performance, yeah. Where
Yeah.
the Satanic Temple, which is more current nowadays, is they have their own tenets.
Okay.
Like a lot of them are vegetarian. You know, you do no harm. A lot of them are. If you gave the list to a group of people and did like a study, and didn't have the pentagram attached to it, people would be like, oh yeah,
Oh, I know.
agree with all of that.
I know. Remember in high school when they had inspirational quotes from different authors all over the library? There was one, actually, because the only satanic Bible I'd read at the time was the LaVeyan one, and I'm like, dude, I could take this and put it on that wall right there, and it would look great with the others. You know what I mean? It's very humanist. It's great, and we had some kids writing letters to the Satanic Church, but for me, like, when it came down to relinquishing power and the higher power and being not in control and understanding it, like, again, it's going to fuck you up. I pray every morning and every night. I get down on my knees. I do. And you know what, Josh? It's all it is. To me, it's a meditative notion of humility. Because my sponsor said to me, he's like, I'm not going to tell you should not be an atheist or anything. He goes, but you need a crash course in humility. He said, I don't care what the fuck you're praying to. I don't care how many 4-letter words you use when you address quote-unquote God. But get down on your knees every morning and every night, because I know you don't want to do it, and pray, because it worked for me. It worked for me.
Damn,
and
man.
Quite honestly, it's like this. It's the people around me in that program, people I can call at a moment's notice who are not expecting anything in return other than, the sustenance that comes from helping somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
They answer the phone, and they're like, oh, yeah, I've been there, dude. It's going to be okay. So really, I don't even care to define what I call quote-unquote God. All I do is this. It's tenets. It's I'm not in control of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I am willing to ask for help, not advice, help.
Yeah.
Because when I don't know what the fuck to do, I don't need advice.
I need help.
I need help. Yeah. And if I do the right thing in any situation, it's all going to be okay. Those 3 things. That's like the trifecta.
Those are the mantras.
Simple as that for me.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, and then that's whereas I stay away from faith, it's belief in something despite evidence to the contrary. It's like, yes, I am willing to have faith in the notion that even though it doesn't look like it, even though I have no reason to believe it, if I do this thing, if I do the right thing, if I help somebody out, no matter what, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And no matter, dude, I'm telling, like, over the past 3 years, and I'm going on a tirade here about the 12 steps and everything, but I mean it. Like, and I've had some hard times in recovery, hard times in sobriety.
Yeah.
I have never gone through any one thing that and come out of it without something to show for it, ever. It has always been okay.
Wow.
Thus far, it's always been okay.
That's
and
amazing.
Yeah, it's great, man.
You are an anomaly. I love it. There's such a dichotomy there of like of an atheist on it. Like it's actually like it's drawing major emotion in me right now of an atheist on his knees praying in order to counteract that addictive brain. You know? Like
I've got it all figured out.
Yeah. You're not looking for the lever in the sense you're just there is a faith in the process of what you just described, that you have a network of people around you, because ultimately Satanism is humanism.
Yeah.
Like that whole program, whether people believe in God or whatever, like the quotes that we're talking that you can copy and paste, it's humanism.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
To help each other and recognize like, yo, I have a disease or, fill in the blank, whatever you want to call addiction. Because I don't like to define anything, anyone else's problems. And I'm not well versed enough in the 12 steps to understand the language. But ultimately, like, I have a problem and you have a problem, and I'm going to be a bat and vomit some fucking blood into your mouth, and let's make this better.
There's that bat again.
Yeah. Like, let's
pretty much.
Because the one that's going to keep it to themselves, they're going to have to either come back to the herd, because they, like, that's just the way you either sink or swim type shit.
You're absolutely right. Or you fly.
Fly
like a vampire bat. Yeah.
So, man, that's great, dude.
Yeah, that's. I caught you off guard with that one, didn't I?
No, it was you shocked me. You shocked me,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, how is he gonna fucking get out of it? How is he gonna explain this one? And it makes sense to me. Like an atheist on his knees praying.
Yeah, man.
You have to just laugh at that sometimes.
I
like,
do.
And just be like, this is because I know you're steadfast and strong in your atheism.
Yeah.
Like, I could even say I'm more agnostic than atheist in a sense, but like, you were like one of the first people, like, going back to high school. I remember being at high school parties with you, shit-faced.
It was great.
And Allie.
Allie Grosjean.
At Elise's house.
Yep.
And Rob Lowry had me in the corner with a shock top bottle, and he's like, it said like, it is what you make, and he's trying to create a narrative out of a fucking fortune cookie to me.
Rob Lowry.
Because he was on a major Christian kick.
Yeah.
And you got Allie crying in the kitchen.
Yep. I remember that night.
For your soul, man. And you're like, no, please don't cry. Like, everything's okay. I'm super happy. Everything's good. And she's like, Luke, I don't want you to go to hell, like sobbing, and I'm like, oh my fucking God. And I'm over here dealing with Rob, and I'm just like, does that moment strike you?
Dude, I'm not kidding when I say I think like I could confidently say that this exact moment maybe passes through my head every day, once a day. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
You came up and you had one arm around me, one arm around her. You're like, hey, check it out. We got the Christian, the atheist, the agnostic, and we're all having a great time. And we were shit faced. Yeah, yeah. I trust me. That stuck in my head too. Man. Very much so. But I don't know, man. I mean, things have just like. Here's what I realized is through all the shit and hamstringing of myself and you know, blood, sweat, tears, call it whatever the fuck you want, I realized, like, despite being a man without faith and without a belief in God, I was looking to myself as my own God in that way, which sounds good, but you know, here's the thing, is if I'm looking at myself as my own God, then I'm not properly questioning myself. I'm not properly
holding you accountable.
Exactly. Yeah. And so ultimately I'm going to act selfishly. You know what I mean? I'm going to say, like,
that's a problem with Satanism too.
Yeah.
A perceived problem for sure. You know, you're selfish.
Yeah.
You know,
it could be. I mean, granted, here's the thing is I really don't even know a hell of a lot about the philosophy behind it. I like the literature.
You like the imagery.
Yeah, I like the imagery and the aesthetic. I'll be,
I'll
be honest about that. I mean, beyond the Satanic Bible, but I realized that I did kind of have a God. I did have something that I would turn to, and it was, you know, sleeping pills and opiates and booze and weed, and it was one of those things where, like, now when I say I'm going to do the right thing and it's all going to be okay, back then it was I'm going to do the wrong thing and somehow, some way, it's all going to be okay. I'm going to get high tonight and it'll be fine, and then, you know, that turned into months.
Yeah,
and,
almost like a procrastinator's.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah. Wow.
It was lethal procrastination. And
damn, man.
It was so. Here was the thing: is I was behaving like I was God, where I had it all figured out. I could do this on my own terms. I could, you know, hypocritically judge people for certain things that, you know, would easily put a scarlet letter on my shirt. And if I didn't like something, fuck it. You know what I mean? And I have the power of contrast now in the sense that, like, I remember when I went sober in 2017, and I it was right after a big opiate binge, like a bad one, and I had not hit my rock bottom. I thought I did. I like raced through the steps, got a sponsor, you know, I got a girlfriend and occupied my time. But I remember living sober but not in solution, and there's a big difference, because if I'm not living in solution, I might as well be fucking high. You know, if I'm not actually working on the problem at hand, which is what's going on in my head, it's a lot of character defects. I'm still acting out. I'm still angry as shit. I'm still lazy. I'm still wrathful. All of these things. Yeah. And like, it's going to attack, you know, things even when I'm sober. It's going to affect things even when I'm sober. So now I've realized, like, okay, that's why I need the steps. That's why I need accountability. That's why I need a principled, quote unquote, spiritual life that says, you know, we're getting because, dude, I'm telling you work those steps, and it is a fucking exorcism. It is a butcher's block. Man. Like, you sit with a guy, my sponsor's incredible, and he's like, how free do you want to be? And I said, I want to be pretty free. And then we got honest that first time around, dude. Yeah. We got real honest, man. Like, he drew some truths out of me, and I was like, how the fuck did you do that? He's like, because I've been through it, man.
Yeah, he's a wizard of the craft.
Essentially, yeah. And I don't know. Now it's like I'm not afraid to say something that is deeply bothering me, that I'm deeply insecure about, because I have somebody who I can call and just be like, dude, this is what's going on. And most of those people in those rooms can and will say, yeah, me too, dude. I've been there. I've done that. I've experienced that, and it can all be okay. Man, you know, and I could go on for hours and hours.
This is its own episode for sure. Yeah, and it could be in the future. I mean, but this is fantastic.
Well, maybe even honestly, because this is a long episode, I could
chop it up for sure.
You could do it in two segments or something.
I could for sure.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, so you seem pretty devoted, not confident in the 12-step program, but I've heard of, I know addicts personally that it didn't work for them. And I remember you saying, like, listen, if you don't think it works, you know, like, this is the way, like, this is sort of it. Yeah. I think I can confidently say this and get upset. Aaron, one of the
I know Aaron.
Yeah,
great guy,
amazing.
Yeah,
had same thing, opiates, alcohol, bunch of DUIs. On the top of his career, in a culinary level, head chef of X, Y, and Z. went to jail,
Yeah.
and his wife was calling me at the time for an explanation, and it's exactly what we were talking about, because I was super, I was dabbling with astrology because of Robert, and we're trying to make sense of something with that, but in actuality that's not, it's the disease itself, it's the addiction itself, right? We don't need to point to the stars for a solution why your husband's in jail. And it's a side note, but it's an important one, I think, because people are constantly looking for different angles and answers to these things. And he got out and he tried the 12-step thing, and it wasn't, the God thing tripped him up. Yeah. It really fucked him up.
It fucks with a lot of people, yeah.
And I was working at the bookshop at this time, and he was staying in Royal Oak. So Berkeley and Royal Oak are right there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. He didn't have a car because he couldn't have a fucking car. And I had this shitty little fucking Fiat, and it was poop brown. I mean, the most hideous car in the world. And I just remember, I had my little harmonium in the back. I was on my vegan spiritual journey type shit, and I would go to the bookshop, and I gave him a book about Zen, Buddhism, one time, and he's a
Buddhist, isn't he?
Major. It hit him right in the center of his chest, right? And he was like, "What is this?" I've always liked the samurai aesthetic. I have.
Yeah, he does swords.
He does fucking swords. So
he's going to be astounded that I know all this about him. But my mom works with you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
She bought me the same book, the Buddhist book, the Buddhist Solution to Addiction, what have you. I have that book. So
you're aware of this. I'm just going to say it out just so other people
you know better than I do, because I have not read the book.
Man, I love the network. We have such good people in our lives.
Case in point, man.
I fucking love it.
We really do. We really do.
So to finish this real quick is he wasn't, the 12-step simultaneously wasn't working for him. I was at the bookshop, which was 5 minutes from his house, and we found a little Zen center out of somebody's garage, 2.5 miles away from his place in Royal Oak. It was a Korean Zen Buddhist center, and the garage was heated, wood, great. I would pick him up after my shifts. We would go there because of course, the day that I worked was the day that they meditated. We would sit and meditate. We did this for months, whatever. Come to find out, the people that had founded this little subsect of Korean Zen Buddhism were primarily recovering addicts. The majority of the monks that were into this were all recovered. I'd say 90% of them.
That's amazing.
So they had this whole community, and we didn't even realize it until months in, and there was that connection, he wanted to keep going back, and they ended up giving him literature, which your mom passed on to you, but it worked for him.
That's amazing.
I haven't talked to him in a second, but we stay in contact. I mean, we used to play Magic the Gathering. He'd be fucked up, mason jars of vodka.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just completely functional. Just beating my ass in Magic.
Hell yeah.
Nowadays, I'll beat him. But
he should relapse.
With that being said, he got into swords.
Yeah.
He became an ordained monk in the tradition. And I don't know the exact name, but like I said, it's South Korean Buddhism. And they ended up opening an actual studio, in the sense of it wasn't out of somebody's garage, which it really was beautiful in there. But it's an actual center now.
Yeah.
Dharma Gate Zen.
Okay.
Anybody in the Michigan area, and if this is resonating with you, and you don't have to have a background in addiction to enjoy it, they have a congregation, you can go and just meditate. It's fucking fantastic. Or if you do have that, they have literature that might strike a chord with you.
Yeah.
And they do sword shit.
No shit.
And
he goes
samurai.
This is what he's like.
He's a monk.
That's amazing.
And he still cooks and does his. He cuts knives there, but he chops swords there. And dude, just knowing that connection took place was just an incredible thing, because I was there during the mason jar vodka shit.
Sure.
The jail part, the 12-step isn't working for me. All of a sudden, the fucking little temple we're going to are recovering at. What a niche thing.
That's amazing.
And I guess the roundabout, the long thing is do you think that works for people? I mean, do you think that works for people?
Here's the thing: is if it works for him and it's working for him, then hell yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Having said that, I would love to talk to him more just about experiences and what have you. Because and furthermore, I don't know a whole lot. I know virtually nothing about the Buddhist paradigm insofar as it relates to addiction.
Yeah.
I have the book at home. I haven't read it. Sorry, Mom. But mom's greatest
Sorry,
woman in
Buddha.
the world. Yeah, Siddhartha. I've been No, I'm not even going to try. I was going to say sit-dawning on the book, but there he is. Now he's staring at me.
Oh, my God. Herman Hesse.
Oh, it's God moments.
This is fantastic. God moments.
Yeah.
$20 from the devil.
Yep. Hail Satan.
Man.
But no, you know what? Here's the thing: is I would love to talk to Aaron. I'd love to talk to people in that sect, and ask like, so this is working for you, and that's amazing. That's great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, again, I would like to know one-on-one with him, like, you know, what are a lot of your experiences? You know, because it's from the sounds of it, he and I are the same kind of addict in the sense of the whole, quote-unquote hopeless variety. And in the literature that we use, it defines, you know, drug users or drinkers, because we use the big book Alcoholics Anonymous. It's been there since Bill W. 1939, and it's like there's the casual social drinker.
Yeah.
You know, insert whatever drug you want here.
Sure.
But casual,
as a bartender, I keep going.
Whatever it is, drinks, booze, drinks, cocaine, heroin, whatever. It's like there's the person who can casually do those things and indulge on the weekends and then go and live their lives normally. Yeah. And then there's the second tier where it's like, okay, this person's got a fucking problem, you know, probably getting wasted every night or using drugs. Like it's affecting them deeply. But like you look at them and you say, all right, so here's the thing. You stop or you die. Or like you stop or you lose your wife. You stop or you lose your family, you lose your job. If they're faced with a big enough ultimatum, they can stop on self-will. You know, a normal, like sensible human being who, you know, is prone to those things. But honestly, like I know a lot of people who have been like, yeah, I just had to stop because I was going to die. And I always thought like, well, I can do that. You know what I mean?
It'll be enough.
Yeah. Like, if I'm faced with a big enough thing, I realize, dude, after a series of just really fucked up things, that I'm not of that variety. I'm of the third type. That is the hopeless variety that says, like, no matter what, things can be good for a while, or I will always find my way back, and I will always lose fucking control, and I will forget about all of the threat signals, all the warnings, all the cautionary tales, everything, and I will find a reason to get fucked up no matter what. I vehemently believe that if you told me, you got to stop or you're going to die, odds are I'd stop for a little while, and then I would get comfortable enough with going back. You know what I mean? And that's where it's like that self-will thing. I can't fucking do it. And the reason that I stand with the steps and I ultimately chose to indulge in that way was, well, first off, it was the only thing left. I was like, I've tried everything else. You know, I always say to my sponsees, I'm like, this is the last house on the street, dude. Like, walk in or dig yourself a 6-foot hole in the front yard. And furthermore, it's like, here, we always say this, not tongue in cheek either, is like, okay, if you want to go out and try some controlled drinking or controlled using, or if you feel that maybe you are not of this hopeless variety, it's go ahead. Like I'm not one to tell you you're not. Yeah. You very well could not be, and that's okay if you're not. Good for you. If you find another solution, that's fucking great.
Go experiment.
Yeah, exactly. And furthermore, like I can't exhume that curiosity from you. I can't surgically remove it. You couldn't from me. With me, until I was absolutely certain I was going to keep relapsing. Yeah. You know, and so, but it's always this. It's like, but you know what? If it fucks you up, if you find your life's unmanageable, and like you need something else, like you know where to find us. Like you know where to call me. You have my number. Yeah, it's okay. And here's the thing: is like
that's beautiful.
This works. It just does. And I mean, there's a lot of particulars to it. I have yet to see anything in my direct vision, or most anyone else who will say, yeah, this is also a program that works. That's why I mean, in by and large, like the experience of myself and others, is like the 12 steps is what keeps people clean. Yeah. You know, since this literature came out in 1939, you know, there's the doctor's opinion, which is the foreword, and it says, like, you know, it's this medical professional, Dr. Silkworth, and he's essentially admitting powerlessness. He's saying these people are insane. Like, they're hopeless. They will continue to do this no matter what. And we as doctors, we don't know what the fuck to do.
We still kind of don't.
That's my point. Yeah. It's like to this day, there's no cure. There's no cure. There's only recovery, not cure.
This is one of the gaps.
It's true. It is. And it's like, you shoot me full of bullets, take me to a hospital, they're at least going to know where to start. They might not save my life, but they're going to know where to start. And I could walk out of there cured and healed. If you take me shaking and writhing from like heroin withdrawals, they're going to be like, I can give him methadone, but he's probably going to go out and do it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so honestly, like, you hear a lot of doctors saying, whatever the fuck it is you guys are doing in your little world, in your little rooms, because it's a daily basis thing. We're not looking for a quick solution, quick fix that says, I'm cured, now I can go on living how I want.
But it's a daily battle, a daily struggle.
Daily, but it's not a struggle, dude. It's not. It's not like it's beautiful. It's absolutely fucking beautiful in the sense that, like, because my mom said that. She said, I feel for you. I know this is a daily fight. I said, it's really not. I said, it's actually a daily victory. Like, here's the thing: is everything that is stemmed from this, from actually digging into what we call a spiritual malady, which is you're restless, you're irritable, you're discontented. Those three things, and like I experience craving, I experience, I'm ultimately I will make selfish decisions that are monumental enough that they do define my cognitive trajectory.
Yeah,
and furthermore my actions. But the thing is when you dig into that shit and you look the devil right in the face, and you can actually recognize what your demons are, you can exercise them. And then what happens as a result is total fucking freedom, dude. Like, man, it's my life. It's not just, it's not that I don't get to do these things anymore. I don't get to drink and get fucked up anymore. It's I get to not want to do these things. And furthermore, like I'm free when it comes to emotional turbulence and what have you. And I'm bipolar, so I deal with all that shit. When it comes to second guessing or something, it's like, and just personal goals and what have you, personality growth, dude, it all stemmed right from these steps when it was like, we're going to get honest, we're going to get truthful, no more fucking excuses. It's not poor me. It's okay, so this shit happened. What was my role? How can I avoid it next time? What are the things that I'm prone to? What are the character defects I'm prone to? How do I fix what I've messed up? How do I go to people and say, hey, what can I do to make it better?
Yeah.
How do I keep it going?
I'm seeing it now.
Yeah.
Especially with your temperament and your personality. Like,
I'm just happy.
Yeah.
I'm fucking happy. And I used to be so mad. I used to be so angry, so like hateful. You know what I mean? It was a great way to make me feel like I was better than other people who I disagreed with, whatever. But I was fucking mad. Like, you looked at me the wrong way, dude, and I was going to rip you open, verbally, whatever. And like try to make you want to kill yourself. Most of the time, I was just hurting myself. I could not control anger. I could not. And now it's like somebody can be screaming at me, and I'm like, go ahead, man. Like, if
you're
you need
equipped
anything,
mentally.
Yeah. And again, that's a daily thing. Like I can't speak for tomorrow, but I can speak for today. And I know I'm rambling. I get it, but
no, it's great.
You talked about meditation, and that's where I'm going to tie it into the to the Aaron anecdote. Meditation is prayer meditation, step 11, which is, yes, you meditate and you pray.
Which are different things, but they can be synonymous in ways.
Very much so. It's that presence, being present and being okay with being present.
And that's the connection.
That's it right there.
Because in just a quick sidestep, in my opinion, prayer is an exaltation and a fulfillment of self.
Yeah.
Realignment of self. And meditation is an emptying of self in order to realign itself.
Yeah, it's like your brain taking a shower. It's amazing.
But the connection between those two opposites is awareness.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Awareness in the moment, too.
Yes.
And it's great, because I know that when it's just so fucking funny that we're talking like this, and that I'm telling you what goes on in my head when I pray. I'm like, I actually say the word God. I do.
You have to tell me that because of everything that we've talked about and our relationship. And
but it works. It's
crazy.
It is crazy.
I
It is
love
crazy.
it.
I'm like, thank you, God. Like I say the serenity prayer. But again, I have so compartmentalized, and it's so natural now where I'm like, God is just good, orderly direction. Like, I am humbly saying, like, I don't have it all figured out. I'm willing to do this thing that I otherwise would not. And so I will say, it's always a gratitude thing. Like, I sit there and I acknowledge what I'm grateful for and acknowledge what I need to work on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then when I meditate, it's opening up my mind and opening myself up to sort of, to clear away the fucking white noise for a second and see where these things that I need to actually grow upon align in my everyday life.
Yeah, and where they stem from.
Exactly.
Where, like maybe thorns or other root, you you can find the roots of the mind
Yes.
in that way. Like, okay,
Entirely.
And that's the. I can't wait to give you the Spirituality Without Religion book,
Yeah,
dude.
well, you know what? It's funny because
Sam Harris.
I've always thought. I remember seeing the cover of that book at
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble a few years ago in Nashville, and I was like, "Huh, that's interesting." Like now I'm on this spiritual journey where I have to have a higher power and everything.
You're like, I'm saying the word God every morning.
Exactly.
Maybe I should hear what Sam Harris has to say
Yeah.
about it. Spirituality without religion. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because I use the term spirituality, and that's how we define it. It's like, are you willing to do the right thing? Are you willing to believe it's going to be okay no matter what? Good. You're living in quote unquote God's universe. Still an atheist? Good. You're allowed to be. You're
Yeah.
a Satanist? Good. You're allowed to be. Whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. Just do the right thing. Whatever you have to refer to outside of yourself to do the right thing. And I didn't pick that book up at the time because I didn't really want to. At that point in time, I was just sort of, like we said, meditatively, like you're just clearing the air. I didn't really want to inject any new paradigms or what have you.
I totally get that. You were like, listen, this is what's working. I'm not going to dilute this in any way because it's life or death for me. And I don't want any, because even like the smallest divergence, like a little tempting line, perhaps could,
Well, I just knew that at that point I was still very neurotic. I was still, like, when I walked into those rooms, dude, some of my best friends to this day now, they're like, we fucking hated you. They're like, you were insane. You were pissed off. Like, you were hateful. You didn't know what the fuck you were talking about, but you wouldn't shut up. You wouldn't stop sharing and everything like that. So at that point, I was just like, I don't want to convolute anything right now. I want to just clear my brain before I inject any new, like, strong principles in. But now I'm in a place now. I'm a little bit more tranquil. What I can totally absorb that.
Yeah.
But circling back to Aaron, because you talk about the Buddhist thing, and that's where I see a common denominator is that presence, that awareness. It's like I'm not in control, and that's okay. And
Bingo.
there's a moral, spiritual life to be pursued.
Yeah.
And it's a present lifestyle thing. Because that guy, the way I see it is he could just stop drinking and expect to live fine, but no, he looks like he's going out of his way to do something else that cognitively realigns him, that puts him in a different place on a daily fucking basis.
Bingo.
So listen, if it's working for him and for other people, I'm like, hell yeah, go find that, man.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's great. For me, the steps work great. The steps do. And the majority of other people out there who have been able to stay clean for indefinite periods of time and furthermore live happy lives, meaningful lives.
I think that's the key. Like
Dude.
the numbers are there.
Oh God.
Like this little subsect of monks.
Yes.
From a very like not obscure but South Korean form of Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
That's like that's a tiny thing that's super cool.
Yeah.
But it doesn't compare to the monumental success rates of the steps.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's not a monastery on every street corner. Maybe if there were, we'd see more people like staying clean via that.
Right. It's in a garage. It was in a garage.
Yeah, exactly, and that's great.
Super dope.
It's fucking great. Like, you know what? If places like that started opening up, I would love to go check that out. I would love to. I think that's very, very cool. This is something like I would actually go out of my way and have a conversation with Aaron. Like, I call him on the phone and say,
hey man,
yeah, tell me about this. Like,
let me write an article about this.
I honestly,
dude, you could do some amazing addiction literature. I like some articles, and
I might be. Fuck, dude, that's actually something that might be on the horizon.
Is that what we were?
Kind of, sort of. I'm like,
I just had to dig it up.
I'm segueing into some things now. Like, I am actually going to be taking a more centralized approach to freelance writing and writing for different magazines and what have you, and I think I'm going to have some autonomy in what I get to write about them.
You know what? Let's talk about that, because I'm so happy to see you. Like, I love reading your shit on Mundane Magazine.
Thank you.
I will read anything that you put out, whether it's about addiction, music, art. You have a serpent's tongue in the best way possible. Some Severus Snape. Yes. And I'm on that path too. We
got some things we got to talk about, actually.
We do, and I think this thing could go all night, and it's gone on for a while, and I've loved every minute of it. And any new music that we should be on the lookout for the any first new time, writing that we should be on the lookout for
the first time in 2 years, I'll be releasing a song. It gets a Velvet Underground cover, Pale Blue Eyes.
Oh, right. You mentioned that. I'm sorry.
But no, it's okay. I like to rehash it because I'm
excited about it,
and I'm a narcissist. I want to talk about me. But yeah, that's coming. I'm very excited to have the master track of that, and I also, as far as writing goes,
Any Cormac McCarthy inspired scripts, Sean Calvano.
Yes.
I'm just name dropping because I follow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Sean and I are actually working on a screenplay. It's been going on. I put it off for far too long. He's probably going to hear this and say, yeah, he has.
Shout out to him.
But I also am going to compile, like, I have all of these different poems and lyrics and shit that I've written down.
I've been seeing them.
Yeah.
I hit you with a fire emoji every fucking day.
You do.
I try to, man.
Honestly,
but I read it all,
I that much I have gathered, and I really genuinely appreciate it, and that's the kind of thing where it's like if I know people are reading it, close friends of mine, and otherwise, I want to do it. So I'm gonna publish a volume. That's my next thing. I'm creating new poems and stories, and I'm also recycling old lyrics and shit that I have like stacked.
I'm always doing that too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, what am I gonna do with these unfinished songs? I'm like, here's what I'll do with them. So there's that, and then I just had an interview with two amazing Nashville musicians, Anana Kay and Rock Lee Gabriel, that will be out. And I'm also, my next interview on the podcast will be, I'm bringing back Darcy Clare, who was the sex worker.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yep, and that one actually people really like that. So I'm bringing her,
of course they did,
as well as one of her friends on. So
it's a hot topic.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Very much so, and they're hot ladies too.
That's what I mean.
So if anybody, I can get you a discount if you come to Nashville and you want to have a good time, Vegas style. Yeah. So I'm gonna have two sex workers and then I think a co-host. So it'll be a whole debaucherous, filthy, disgusting exchange that
I love that.
Definitely worth listening to.
Man.
Yes. And Howard Stern, he did this. He was doing a lot of the shit too.
Was,
where
man.
Had porn stars like sitting on Sybians and like puking on guys.
I gotta tell you, Robert Thibodeau, the bookshop owner.
Yeah.
He was on the Howard Stern show for years, and he quit because Howard wanted him to wrestle like a 300-400 pound woman in a kiddie pool.
No shit.
And he wouldn't do it.
Oh my God.
So yes, I'm quite aware of Howard's debaucherous.
It's a dynasty.
We could maybe find the episode of Robert Thibodeau quitting in X. It was probably maybe 20, 30 years ago, but he was like, I'm not wrestling a foreign, and I think a midget was involved too, but it was a kiddie pool and he wanted her to wrestle him, and he was like, I'm not doing that.
I think I would have done it.
Yeah, but he's a different constitution and temperament, and felt like he was kind of being, gestured a little bit.
Oh, of course.
And was like, I'm out. But
I can't knock him for that.
We've had so many full circles. Just way too many connections.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Sense.
There's a lot of semblance to this. Chaos, but total order. I very much like it.
Me too.
I don't know if you guys can tell the cloudiness in my voice. I've been hitting this stupid fucking vape the whole time.
Yeah, and neither of us have really had any water or anything to drink. We've just been sitting here for 2 hours.
You know what?
It's late.
I stopped eating and drinking and sleeping. I just ingest nicotine and caffeine now.
You are a true 12 steps man. Nicotine and caffeine, baby. In a way, it's a religion.
It kind of is, yeah.
Man.
Yeah, and it works.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, anyone that this resonates with, I know Luke is always available, and there's somebody always available, because a lot of what you said even resonates with me. Like, I can find a lot of those.
That's great.
Things that you said in my own life and my own journey. Like going through high school and a period of sobriety and entering back into, like, I didn't drink on my 21st birthday. I was just sober at the time, my whole thing was back. It's just been all kinds of different things.
You were very much entrenched in that. I remember.
Yeah, I was
like
dedicated.
A very soul-seeking thing. That was beautiful.
It really was, and it was 5 years of my life that I could never regret. It was fantastic, and integrating back into eating meat and drinking, and then coming to I haven't drank in 2 years.
Seriously?
Yeah, I don't drink.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
But I'm not completely clean either.
Yeah,
I dabble with stuff.
Smoke weed?
I smoke weed. I do some stuff.
Yeah,
and I have my own problems and my own demons,
I mean, there's fucking cats everywhere, man. And you keep giving them different names. Like, I'm starting to think they don't actually live here. Yeah, you got problems.
You've entered the Goetia, my friend. Remember that bookshop I told you about? We're going to astral project there.
No, I've been doing it the whole time.
But in all seriousness, that was enlightening, and it hit deep aspects of myself, and I can't tell you in words how much some of that resonated with me.
I appreciate that
very
much.
You know, you made the therapist mention, but I felt the exact same way multiple times with your vulnerability and your honesty and your journey in general. Like I kind of sat down thinking like, you know, we're gonna talk about his music and his writing and stuff, and we did, but we went much deeper than that, and
that's why I was very excited to come here.
Yeah, man, and I'm so glad you did, because we were like I said, Luke is flying out tomorrow back to Nashville, and he drove to my fucking house in a snowstorm, and I'm grateful for it.
Me
and
too.
I think we all learned a little bit more about the devil that we hope to know. So
God willing,
you motherfucker. Thanks, Luke. I appreciate
buddy.
you, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.